Now recording.
Hello and welcome to Film Day's Excellent Adventure, where we talk all things rock and metal. I am not Phil.
And I similarly am not Dave.
Last two times you've done your bit, you fucked up similarly.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the last one, or it might have been the one before, it was similarly or something.
No,
daft like that.
similarly.
Similarly, was it? And then just now you put a T in it.
I did not.
It sounded like there was a T in it, man. You fucked it up.
I didn't. You heard it wrong.
It's either your fucked up mouth or my fucked up ears.
I'm going to listen back to this immediately afterwards, and then I'm going to text you and call you a cunt.
Even if I'm right.
Even if you're right, especially if you're right.
Especially if I'm right.
You fucking prick.
So, my good man.
Yes, mate.
What has this week held for you? How are you? How the devil is Phil?
I'm all right, yeah. I've got, I had 3 days, or I'm having 3 days off. I'm currently in the center of 3 days off.
Yeah, man, bank holiday tomorrow.
And then I've got 3 days off next weekend.
That's pretty cool. Is it because we've got a bank holiday, and if I have got this right, I know nothing about holidays in other countries, but I saw something on Facebook that made me think this weekend is Memorial Day in the States.
Possibly.
Like that would be today, I guess. So
I don't
that's
know
the time of recording. By the time anyone hears this, that'll have been last week. That is indeed if anyone across the pond is listening.
There might be. This is I mean, if we get like one listener in every country, that would be pretty sick. Monday, 25th of May, allegedly, is Memorial Day. So yeah.
Oh, that's tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Which is a bank holiday for us also for reasons.
Yeah.
Fucked if I know what it is. I don't know what any bank holidays are for in this country.
Started to you at all.
It did just then when you asked that question, but other than that, it hasn't.
Maybe I'm a bit loud or something. Is it all right now? Is it? I've just cranked it back a bit.
Yeah, man, it's cool.
Cool.
It's all good.
I don't want it to start like spazzing out.
You now and then you're not cutting out, but it sounds like digital interference on your voice, but not like in a way that I can't hear what you're saying.
See, I feel like it's just been clipping because I was hearing it in my headphones. So,
I think that'll probably just be at your end.
Yeah, maybe.
And I'm using the safe cans today, so the problems we had for the last 2 weeks hopefully will not be a problem anymore.
You've jinxed us now, innit?
Oh fuck. Yeah, but I have.
So,
yeah, what are you doing with your Memorial Day weekend? Is that a day weekend? What?
I think we're gonna go to the beach tomorrow morning, like ridiculously early, to avoid all the tossers and their fucking kung flu.
Yeah, man. It's what did you refer to the virus as at some point? You put like a comedy. You used a pun and put some kind of comedy term in it. Fundemic, that's it. You called it a fundemic.
Fundemic, yeah.
Yeah, with the kung flu fundemic that's currently going on. Kung flu, I don't know how that name hasn't taken off.
Me either.
Does anyone even remember that it started in China now? Does anyone?
Do you know what?
I'm going
to go on record to say that I don't believe that it came from people eating bats. I don't believe it.
Oh, fuck me. You're going to say was it man-made or some bullshit 5G tower?
I know it's not a fucking 5G because 5G is the same as 4G, is the same as 3G. It's all the same shit.
Did you know I read that the frequencies that your microwave puts out are higher frequency, and therefore in the way people think 5G is dangerous, it's been due to the high frequency. The frequencies that your microwave puts out are higher, and that by that logic more dangerous than 5G. It's fucking ridiculous. The shit people worry about, man.
And you know,
bollocks.
I'm just saying, I don't, because I heard it a while ago that, like, when this first shit started kicking off, that it was from people eating bats at a wet festival in fucking China. And I'm like, I listened to it to begin with. I was like, all right, if that's what they say. And then I started thinking about it. It was like, When was the last time you got a respiratory disease by eating something?
Yeah, but so it's not
smoking it.
No, but so it's not the direct influence on your body that is the reason it's a respiratory disease. It's the way it attacks the nervous system. Once it's inside you, whether you ingest it by eating it, snorting it, injecting it into your fucking eyeball or whatever, it's the way that then attacks your nervous system, and the part of the brain it attacks, or in this case, how it travels to the lungs. It's the lungs that are susceptible. And because it's in your bloodstream, once you ingest it, it eventually travels to your lungs.
Still don't believe it.
I perfectly well believe it's not unheard of at all for us as humans to catch a virus or a disease, or whatever the correct term may be for it, that has existed in animals for a very long time, and even to animals might not be dangerous. Like it's just a mild virus to them or whatever. They're basically just carriers. But because of how viruses mutate, once it's introduced to a human, it mutates in such a way very quickly that it attacks whatever part of the human body. And it just so happens that this one is very dangerous because not only did that happen, but once it had mutated, it was very, very easily transferred. So it spread like a cunt.
I think it's horse shit. I don't think it has fuck all to do with eating bats, man.
Where did it come from? Let's run down the top 5 theories for where the Kung Flu pandemic began.
Well,
and you can mix your own ideas in with whatever bullshit conspiracy you may have heard. Let's see if we can crack the case. Real talk on Phil and Dave.
I don't have any hard or fast theories. I would say, like, my general theory about everything is it's just a strain of something that hasn't been had an immunity built up to in a previous instance. Like sometimes, like for instance, people take antibiotics for fucking everything, and it stops anybody being cured by antibiotics for certain things now, because those diseases have built up an immunity themselves to antibiotics.
Yeah, man.
And it's, this could be, I'm not saying one of those things specifically, but it could be a similar case that there's a strain of whatever, of SARS that's ended up being like untreatable because there's too many people with whatever.
Because they adapt to the antibiotics. So if they've adapted, technically, I mean, that's a mutation in the virus, and therefore, if it's not treatable, it could have mutated in other ways as well that have made it more deadly. I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
You see, I think my theory number 5, it was the Muslimics did it. Because that's the kind of shit that you hear, that these fucking idiots with like a St. George tattoo on their beer gut, you guarantee that while they've been on lockdown, necking Stella, that's what they've been saying. Fucking Muslimics did it. Oh, good God. Those people, the pond scum of humanity, fucking mouth breathers. That's my theory number 5. I'm going to come up with 4 more throughout this show.
I can't really think of another like viable option for me personally. I just don't think. I like I say, I don't think it came from Chinese people doing what Chinese people have done for fucking decades, centuries.
True. I see your point.
Like, why did nobody get it last year or the year before?
Because an infected bat hadn't. Or the virus hadn't mutated in that bat that meant...
but they eat fucking everything all the fucking time. Why would this...
I see your point.
I think it's horseshit.
I like the idea. Far smarter people than me have put the idea out that it came from bats. So who am I to dispute it? Is my stance, But the way I understand their presentation of that theory is that they've said that yes, it's existed in bats for a long time, and people may have had it before, but it was harmless to us until it mutated under just the right conditions, and it's just by chance that happened. Like they say, a major pandemic.
The timeline wrong, though, aren't they? Because they were like, oh yeah, So China has got this massive outbreak, and that started the beginning of the year. But the actual outbreak started like the end of last year, like a couple of months before they actually said anything about it on the news
Yeah,
over here.
I saw something that said it's confirmed that coronavirus was in the UK as early as December last year. And I'm like, hold
Yeah.
on a minute.
So it
How
was
the
in
fuck are you
China when?
confirming that? How the fuck is anyone confirming that, though? Like 6 months after the fact? How are you confirming that? Because where are your tests coming from 6 months back? Like, if you tested someone who has now had the virus and is recovered, is there a test that could tell you whether they've had it already? See, I don't know how this
There's a
shit works.
there's a test that says like that shows whether your antibodies are equipped
Oh, so
to fight it.
so they could test you now and say you're fine, and it's more than likely you've already had it, like, because
Yeah.
you're kind
I
of
don't know
already
how
immune.
they'd like be able to decide then when you
When it
would have
happened,
got it
yeah.
exactly.
Oh, I'm
Like,
fucked if I know. I bet there is a way though. Like I say, smarter people than me, man.
yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these people who'll be like, no, fuck all these scientists. I don't need people telling me this shit. I need to go and look at YouTube videos and decide for myself.
Oh God, yeah. The
I'm
world's greatest source of information.
if a doctor tells me some shit, I will generally believe them
Yeah.
unless I'm really strongly adamant that what they're telling me isn't going to sort
Well,
me.
it's that attitude in it where, like, question everything. That is a sensible outlook, but
Yeah,
there is a line to be crossed, and it's what you do with that attitude of
yeah,
question everything.
for
Like,
sure.
yeah, question everything, and think critically about everything. But when you arrive at a conclusion, don't assume you are correct unless that can be backed up by evidence. Like,
Yeah,
don't question everything. Question the moon landing. Question it by all means. Feel free. Think critically about it. Look at the evidence and decide for yourself. But if you are that fucking thick that the evidence in some way presents the image that you're right and it's fake, then I mean, I don't even know how to deal with certain conspiracy theory. Like
no.
you know me, man, and you're the same. You love this conspiracy theory shit. You look into it and it fascinates you, but it's not the
Yeah,
conspiracy
it's
theory that fascinates you. It's how people fucking live
yeah,
their
it's
life by it
people
that's
processing
fascinating.
the information in a completely different way to how I do,
Not just how you do, how
how
and
majority does.
yeah, and I'm not saying that the majority thought is correct. I'm saying that if the majority thought is brought around by um, irrefutable evidence and testing that can be with results that can be replicated and proof, like I mean, I don't want to go on about the flat Earth bullshit, but there is irrefutable proof that the Earth is round. It cannot be argued. Yet
And
they
yet they
find a way
argue.
to argue it. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
going too far, man. That's not thinking critically. That's getting an idea in your head and doing all you can to find evidence to support your idea. Rather than looking at all the evidence and then thinking critically, it's
yeah.
getting an idea in your head and only looking at evidence that supports it, which
Exactly, and then
in
sitting in
most
your little echo
cases,
chamber with all your little mates who agree with what you
100%.
say.
100%. And the biggest problem is that half the time, the evidence that they find that they believe supports them actually doesn't in any way. It's
No,
just their
they
own
don't understand.
misinterpretation
Yeah.
of it. Yeah, it's like using science to debunk a globe Earth. It can only be done if you don't understand the science that you're using.
Yeah, plus, if you're then going on to say, "I don't believe science because this," and then you use the methods that a scientist uses to
Exactly.
prove the argument, you're basically contradicting yourself anyway.
It's such a vicious cycle. Say you don't believe science, you don't trust mainstream science. You give the impression, therefore, what you are saying really is that you understand science better than mainstream scientists do.
Yeah,
You are smarter than them. You will then use their methods to prove them wrong, which doesn't make sense if you don't believe in their methods in the first place.
no.
And what it comes down to is that the way you've proved them wrong actually comes from your full and complete misunderstanding and misinterpretation of how science works. So it's just this horrible circle, and that's why they end up in these echo chambers, because they can't look outside of this circle that they've been drawn into. It's like a whirlpool. They just get deeper and deeper.
Yeah, and I think a
That
lot of the time they are actually legitimately a bit crazy in not in just the fact that they believe this stuff, because that can be, due to being told something and not kind of thinking it through enough, or maybe you're thinking it through and coming to the wrong conclusions. Some of them, when somebody asks you a question and then
you know,
speaks over the top of you while you're trying to answer it.
yeah, they don't care about your answer. They don't
No,
care
they
what you've
just
got to
keep
say.
exactly. They just keep repeating their point of view, their standpoint, and they'll keep going and they'll keep going. Like that's going to change people's minds.
Exactly,
Like the way
exactly.
to win the argument is to be the person who speaks the loudest and longest.
I watch flat Earth videos a lot because the whole thing fascinates me, and it used to like genuinely fucking. I would. It was a trigger, I would
Yeah.
really get mad about it. These days, it doesn't make me mad at all. I laugh at it more, if anything. But there are one or two, and I'm not going to get really boring and start naming people. There are one or two kind of flat Earth people in that world who are genuinely. Some of them are so argumentative and claim to understand things so much better than everyone else. They're clearly just not very bright. And then
If
there
their
are
name
others.
is Nathan, they're generally that person.
Yeah, man. Well, the two Nathans, Nathan Oakley and Nathan Roberts, I think, the
Yeah.
American one. That guy, I
Nathan
think that
Thompson is
Thompson, that's it, Thompson. Yeah, well, Nathan Oakley is the Brit who is just a disgusting human being. Like he mutes everyone on his flat Earth debate so he can shout insults at them. He's just a nasty piece of work. He's clearly not very bright, and he doesn't understand any argument put to him, so he just shouts over the top of it, exactly like you were just saying. Nathan Thompson is genuinely crazy. Like
yeah.
there's something not wired straight in his head. And I mean, it's weird how one conspiracy leads to another. Because, like, if you're into the flat Earth, you likely are not just a moon landing denier. You deny the existence of space itself. Like, it's not real.
Yeah,
Nothing.
'cause there's a kind of a large number of them that are hardline Christians.
Well, Nathan Thompson's like that, isn't it? It's the
Yeah.
biblical understanding of the firmament and the flat Earth, as referred to in Genesis. And I mean, the whole COVID thing, the 5G thing, that's what I mean about the whirlpool. If you now don't believe that COVID, but what you were saying earlier about you don't believe it's from bats, right? You're a sensible dude, so to you, that's the end of it. It's like I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
sure
not
where it
like I'm
came
looking
from.
yeah, I'm not looking for I mean, I don't really that's it. I don't really care where it came from. I just don't
Exactly.
believe it came from where they said it does. But it's not
Fair enough.
that's it. It's not like that's leading me to think, well, where does it come from then? Because
Exactly,
I don't
because that's when
care.
you're in the rabbit hole. And as soon as you start looking at that, it's like eventually you're going to get to this. Like it came from 5G,
Yeah,
or
or you're gonna get to something
exactly.
that isn't correct either.
That's going to lead you on to fucking chemtrails. And well, no, first the COVID thing will lead you to anti-vax. Then anti-vax will lead you to chemtrails. Then chemtrails will lead you to mind control and NASA, which will lead you to denying the moon landing. And before you know it, you're at the fucking big fat, sweaty mother of all conspiracy theories. The Earth's flat. And how you can go through, it's like the 7 circles of hell. How you can drop down all them various circles and buy into, you've got to buy into that bottom one, you've got to buy into all the others 100% first. You can't go to the top of the mountain without 100% believing every step on the way up it. And how they cannot question anything on the way. By the time they've got to the flat Earth, it's like you are a lost fucking cause now.
Yeah, man.
There's nothing that can be done for you.
But you do get some, don't you? Like they release videos of I was in flat Earth and then I've got out. It
Yeah.
seems like and it seems like they're genuinely upset with themselves And
Yeah, and so they
understandably,
fucking should be,
yeah.
honestly. So they fucking should be. There was one I watched a few weeks, it was Conspiracy Cats, and I can't remember, this was an older video, so I don't remember exactly where it was from, but he was interviewing a dude who at one point, he had, how he shows other people's videos and picks them apart and debunks them and calls them idiots. He'd done it to this dude. And then later he interviewed him because that dude had moved away from Flat Earth, and he was talking about how he got into it. All the time I'm watching it, I'm thinking, this dude, Conspiracy Cats, is fighting, laughing all the way through. He's trying to be as respectful as possible because it supports the whole how Flat Earth's ridiculous thing that he now makes money out of. So he's got to take it seriously. But you could see he's trying not to laugh because even the reasons this guy's giving, it's like watching fucking Jerry Springer. It's like watching someone on a show that they think it's serious. But to everyone watching, it's a bit of a joke because he's going on about, well, it started by watching YouTube videos, but then before I knew it, I was locked in my basement for 4 days straight watching them, and all I can think is that's because you're a fucking idiot. Don't expect any credit now that you have become slightly less of a fucking idiot. I can't offer them any fucking sympathy whatsoever. If you were brain dead enough to buy into that shit.
I think it is. I think it's like a predisposition to. I guess they call it being woke, don't they, or being open-minded?
Yeah, but they're so open-minded that you can be indoctrinated into a cult.
Yeah, it's kind of a line past being open-minded straight into gullibility. Like,
yeah,
you're
it's
being
like
told this stuff,
what's
and it's like, well, that makes sense because
exactly.
you don't question it the right way. You're questioning everything, but you're questioning it the wrong way. You're not thinking like we always say, why the fuck would NASA lie about the shape of the Earth?
Exactly. Who's got anything to gain from that?
Exactly.
No one.
Like if they wanted to, they could say it was a donut. They could say it was a frisbee. It doesn't matter what shape it is. Why say it's a fucking sphere?
Exactly. And it's this idea, like the open-minded thing. What's the difference between being open-minded and questioning things and just having no firewall at all? And it's the opposite of being open-minded. You're not questioning anything. You question nothing. Everything gets in and gets a hold and just becomes your version of knowledge at that point. It's just fucking depressing to watch people come out of it and talk about it like it was a real psychological, I really thought about it and it did make sense. No, it fucking didn't. And no, you fucking didn't.
Yeah, man.
Oh man. I think should we draw a line under that?
Yeah. I think my final comment on it would be the people that kind of realize and come out of it, more power to them for finally actually waking up. But I think half of the thing is they're trying too hard to find like holes in the narrative, that they're creating the holes themselves.
Oh, 100%. They're looking for things that aren't there, so they create them. And it's like, if you went into if you slipped down a spiral of depression, like a genuine mental illness, and you ended up like a heroin addict, and then you came through the other side of that and someone interviewed you about your recovery, that's a serious issue. And you're talking about a genuine mental illness, and then an addiction, which in many ways is a disease, and it's a very serious issue and it could have killed you. That cannot in any way be compared to believing YouTube videos about how the earth is flat and then coming out the other side and being interviewed and trying to take that as seriously as the heroin thing and the depression thing. But that's how they treat it. Every interview I've seen of someone who's been in that world and has come out the other side, they're talking about it as though it was this great life-affirming thing, or they slipped into it because of depression, or that. I don't care how fucking depressed I get, it won't make me more fucking stupid.
No.
It won't make my IQ sink. I've had depression, I've suffered with it. I've seen counselors and bullshit. It didn't for a second make me question reality. That's just fucking, it's a retarded thing to say about a retarded situation that your own fucking retarded mind got you into. It's not the same as a disease or a genuine illness, but they treat it that seriously when they come through the other side. And I can't offer them sympathy or any credit for coming out of it because they bought into it through their own fucking volition.
Well, that's taken up half an hour. Let's do something else.
And so I've been looking at the news. I'm going to run over this really briefly because we spent half an hour talking about flat Earth. Photos inside America's first. I'll tell you what, I'll do this one first. Study claims marijuana could help fight off COVID-19. Why that is a headline on Loudwire, I don't know. I'm assuming
it should be
that
if it's legitimate, then it should be a fucking headline on everything, mate.
Exactly. But instead it's on Loudwire, which I assume... Let's have a look. Canadian study has been published on cannabis and the coronavirus, suggesting that certain strains of high in CBD could aid the body in fighting COVID-19. The study has not yet been peer-reviewed, so it's just someone saying, yeah, it might.
Yeah.
That's
This is
all
like
we need to
that
say about that.
fucking pisswig mung bean saying, oh yeah, I'm on malaria pills. It hasn't killed me, so it must be fucking fixing me, you fucking dickhead.
Isn't it? It hasn't killed me yet, so it's probably all right.
Yeah,
that's
it. I've been taking it for a while now, and well, I'm still here. Yeah, you're still fucking here. That's fucking logic. That's fucking logic, man.
Can you imagine drinking bleach? Like necking a bottle of bleach, and for the first 3 seconds before you violently vomit blood, thinking,
"Oh, sweet, I'm still here."
Probably helped. What? I mean, what the fuck? Although that said,
that probably helped. Oh no, now I'm violently being sick, and a totally unrelated issue. Let's drink some more bleach.
Yeah, I'm shitting blood, but for 3 seconds I wasn't, so I should probably drink more. Although that said, I did see a headline the other day saying that the government are now trialing the use of those same malaria pills. And everyone was suddenly backtracking and saying, "I see Trump, he's not as stupid as he looks." And all that. Well, still think it's pretty fucking stupid, isn't it?
It is, because essentially he was just trying a tablet that nobody had told anybody was going to do any fucking good. It's not like
bleach. No one told me that bleach would kill coronavirus, but if I drink it, assuming it will, and for 3 seconds I'm not shitting blood, then, when I do eventually shit blood, am I going to look at the 3 seconds before and think, well, I wasn't shitting blood then, but it was after I'd drunk the bleach, so I better drink more?
Is it necessary for me to drink my own urine?
Is it?
No,
is it
but
necessary?
It's sterile and I like the taste.
I love how he introduces that line. Necessary?
How he walks.
Necessary?
That's cold-blooded. Man's in a
wheelchair. Cold-blooded. No, it's how when he asks him, "Is this necessary?" and he's with it ripped on. Necessary? Is it necessary for me to drink my necessary? It's just pronunciation, and I love it.
Yeah, man.
Photos inside America's first socially distanced concert. I'm not going to read the story. I'm just going to describe this photo to you. So it's an auditorium with a stage at the front, in the background, and chairs in the foreground, and it looks like a fucking crime scene. There is just caution tape fucking everywhere.
I thought you were going to say there's just fucking corpses everywhere.
Yeah, because the problem was they let in people with coronavirus and they all died.
Just coughing in each other.
No, there's just caution tape fucking all over this auditorium. Honestly, it's lit up. It's not in the dark, this particular theatre. This will be the one we were talking about last time. It had a floor plan. I can't remember where it said it was. And like I say, I'm not reading the story. Fuck it. But
Wasn't
it just
it
looks
like a dude doing a solo gig?
As I remember, it was it wasn't like a big rock show.
He was doing. I think the guy is from a band, but he was just doing a solo performance.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a big rock show or anything like that. It was on Loudwire just because it's about gigs, but it was like some folk guy or something like that, as I remember. I can't remember exactly, but honestly, it's photos inside, and I'm just looking at one big one, and it's just fucking covered in caution tape, and it looks like a crime scene, which is, I guess, kind of original.
It's something.
So there's only one other story I saw in here that might be worth some discussion. Sammy Hagar on Van Halen reunion. I foresee it happening. What are your thoughts on that? They've done the Uncle Dave reunion a few years back. They
don't play in Britain, so it doesn't really concern.
Yeah, what's that about? Why? What's the thing there?
I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe we're just too small to concern ourselves about. Maybe
That
they're not.
seems
The thing is, I don't know how largely. I mean, I question things like this sometimes without really analyzing it. But like, for instance, Def Leppard now are more successful than Def Leppard were in this country when they were successful around the rest of the world for a large part because they struggled for a long time in Britain. They took off in America before they took off over here, and I wonder whether in on a similar kind of vein whether Van Halen were more successful in America, so they do a lot in America, more successful in Europe, so maybe they tour Europe, but they didn't take off quite so well in Britain. Like when I was younger in the 80s and stuff, I don't remember seeing a lot of Van Halen on I remember seeing more Def Leppard on the TV when I was like early 90s than I saw Van Halen or anything like that. So maybe that's the thing.
yeah. I mean, I don't really get it. Why for a band that are still reasonably active, like it's not like they are fully finished. In
No.
fact, that's a lot of this article is speculation. It's not like it's actually happening. But
Mm.
for even Sammy Hagar talks about, well, what he actually says is he remains hopeful that past barriers will eventually be broken down
See,
and that one day Van Halen will return to the concert stage, hopefully with him.
I was crossing my fingers pretty much every download that Van Halen would get announced. Never happened. But I was always like, come on, just if you were going to do one gig in Britain, it'd be Download, right?
You'd think so. Or Glasto, maybe. No, Download would be the one.
Glasto,
Download would be the one. Well, I mean, this is all speculation. It says here, until Ed or Alex Van Halen die, they're not finished, he explained.
yeah.
Those are two great musicians that can friggin' do as good as most people at half-mast. As a
That will have
drummer,
cancer in the face.
literally. As a drummer and as a guitarist and a creative person in Eddie, I can't see them ever being finished. I wish they were more active, but I think that Van Halen will never be finished. He continued, if they want to get it together, they just have to call Dave or they have to call Sammy. They can go out with Wolfie as a trio, but that's not the legacy of Van Halen. I think they know that. I'm not predicting what's going to happen, but I would tell you if there are concerts next year, Van Halen will probably be on tour next year. Hagar reveals that there had been some discussion of Michael Anthony returning. I never thought that had happened. Apparently, there had been some discussion in 2019, but it never came to fruition as rumours circulated about Eddie Van Halen's health.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all speculation. This is a bullshit headline because it makes it sound like they've been talking about it, but it's not. It's just he was interviewed and he said he hopes it happens one day.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it happens. And
I'd
on
love
top
to
of
see it
that,
happen.
I hope if they do keep touring with Sammy Hagar or with Dave Lee Roth, I mean, my favourite songs are Sammy Hagar songs. However,
The definitive lineup is Uncle Dave.
There is more substantial and decent material with Dave Lee Roth on it.
Like there's gigs worth, there's tours worth of material with Dave Lee Roth.
Whereas Sammy Hagar just happens to sing like my three favourite Van Halen songs.
Yeah,
but
I will say this:
the others aren't decent. Obviously.
Controversial opinion. Well, actually, I don't think it's particularly controversial at all. Dave Lee Roth, more flamboyant, but Sammy Hagar, by far the superior vocalist.
Technically more superior.
I think he's just such a better singer. And I would argue that because of that, it would probably be a better show with him. But if I'm honest, here's the controversial part. I wouldn't really be too bothered who's up front if Michael Anthony was back.
It'd be pretty... Well, I mean, I like both of their vocal styles. I think...
Very different, though.
Yeah, and I think Dave Lee Roth brings more to the table vocally. He's, technically his actual vocal range, the parts where his voice is strong and has a proper tone to it, is a bit stunted compared to Sammy Hagar's. But then he has like those crazy squeals and shit that he does that come out of nowhere. You know, the things that add the little, like fucking Michael Jackson and his hee-hees and
Yeah, man.
shit like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. He's
Like
got these characteristic kind of
exactly.
ticks. Yeah.
And
Plus,
it makes it a completely different thing. Whereas, you know, Sammy Hagar could just be another good rock singer.
yeah, very true. He's less individual,
Yeah,
but he's a better
yeah, for
singer.
sure.
Like he's like say general rock singer. He could have been in any band, whereas Dave Lee Roth was part of Van Halen, and he made
Yeah,
Van Halen like stand out. Like I like Wolfgang as a bassist. He's a good player,
hmm
but to me, it would be something special seeing Alex Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen, and Michael Anthony play. And you know
yeah,
what? I'd go and see if the three of them were doing it together. I'd go and see him with Gary Sharon.
yeah, man.
I mean, Gary Sharon can fucking wail, but those extreme shows that they did a couple of years back, you know, that was it 20th or 30th anniversary of Pornography.
Yeah,
Those were outstanding. But I won't lie, man. Gary Sharon has lost it a bit.
really.
Like, yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm dogging on the dude because he's cool as fuck. And to be honest, on a bad day, even if he has gone down a touch with age, he's still got range that outdoes most people, you know. But I noticed on them extreme shows, it sounded to me like they were tuned down and he was still having trouble in some of the really high sustained parts.
Right.
But that's not comparing him. It's not like he's bad and you're comparing him against other singers and saying, well, they're all better than him.
No, you're just comparing him to himself.
I'm comparing him
Saying,
to
you know,
himself 20
yeah,
years ago and saying he can't quite manage that. So it's just a shame that when these extreme shows were going on, that was the anniversary shows of him at his peak. So it was always going to be tough to manage that, you know. But I think he gets a bad rep. Like even he only did one record, I think, with Van Halen, didn't he?
yeah.
And I don't think oh man, I'm full of controversial opinions today. I don't think I'm gonna say it, man, that wasn't a bad record.
I, it's not memorable enough for me. It doesn't have any of the.
I think that was the writing. I think his performance was great. He
Yeah.
had a great voice for that band, following Dave Lee Roth
Well,
and Sammy Hagar. He was the natural choice.
I can't imagine why people would have had a problem with him singing Van Halen songs on the tours, but they did. People had
Yeah,
an
man.
issue with him
He was
immediately.
hated.
It was. I think it's because he's come from Extreme, and Extreme are, I guess, seen as a less legitimate band somehow than Van
Yeah,
Halen.
I never
They're
understood
more
that
of a
because
pop band or something.
if you look at the musicians in that band, they were arguably a better set of musicians than. I mean, I can't really talk about the drummer. It was Paul something. I can't. Paul Geary or something like that was the drummer, and he's now their manager. I don't know enough about like his skills to comment, but Pat Badger as a bassist is excellent, and pair him with Nuno Betancourt, and they were just fucking phenomenal. I'm a huge Nuno fan, but anyone who knows anything about guitar has got to respect Nuno Betancourt.
Yeah, man, he's tight.
Gary Sharon had that voice that just went with it perfectly. Now they were a bit over the top, a bit. I don't mean to make a pun, but they were a bit decadent.
Ha.
I heard stories. Dave Grohl talked about, or was it Kurt Cobain? There's a Nirvana interview where the three of them are being interviewed, and one of them talks about how they were on tour with Extreme, and they were like some festival tour or whatever. And Extreme, when they got off the plane, they wanted a red carpet and they wanted no photographers, and it was all that. You think Guns N' Roses, it was that Axl Rose attitude.
Yeah.
And Kurt Cobain, I think it was Kurt Cobain, he was saying it was just bullshit. Like we couldn't even talk to those dudes backstage. They were so false and so their heads were up their asses and that. And it's like, I can see that. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that that's the case now. And in terms of the musicianship and their ability to work with other people, like, have you seen Nuno play with Rihanna?
I haven't seen it. I know it's a thing.
I've only seen it in video. Like I've not been and seen a show, but he adds something there, man. It's not like he's just standing in the background hitting chords and it's a paid gig. she chose him because she wanted him to do it.
Exactly. Why would you get one of the best guitarists on the planet
Exactly.
unless you want a decent guitarist to do something? Any fucking joke can turn up and play the chords on your songs.
Exactly. Exactly that. And it's, I don't know, man. I feel like Gary Sharon got a bad rap when he was with Van Halen. And
I
I don't
agree.
know how that ended. I don't know if the band kind of went on hiatus or if he was fired or if he decided this isn't worth it and he left. But
I imagine it was probably like one
culmination.
or a number of those things. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I feel like he got bad rap. But I would, yeah, back to the point. I would go see Van Halen with Sharon up front. Like whoever's singing to me would not be my main concern.
I would say
If Michael Anthony was back with him and the three boys at the back were playing, then I'd be happy watching them either way.
it's not. I like I say, I wouldn't be concerned which singer I was getting because of the fact that I know whichever singer I'm getting, I'm gonna get a
It's a good
decent
show, man. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think I'm in the same boat. It wouldn't bother me and I'd see him anyway. But the real deal breaker for me would be if Michael Anthony was there, then I'd definitely be on board. You know, it'd be, now I really don't care who's up front. I'm going to see Van Halen and it doesn't matter who's singing to me.
Hey, man.
Hey.
Fucking decades since Paul Gray died.
No fucking way.
Yeah. 10th anniversary today.
What the fuck?
Doesn't seem like 5 minutes, man.
I remember that press conference where Corey Taylor was in tears. Like it was shit the bed.
And if you think about it as well, like how many, so they've had, is it 2 or 3 albums since he's died?
Well, the Grey Chapter was the one immediately after.
Yeah. And then
was he on? Yeah, the Grey Chapter was after is it All Hope Is Lost? Is that what it's called? All Hope Is Gone. So that will be the last one Paul Gray was on.
Yeah.
And then the Grey Chapter. Yeah, that makes sense. We talked about this a few weeks back. The Grey Chapter was the first one with Jay Weinstein and the new bass player whose name I don't remember, but they weren't named.
Yeah.
At the time, no one knew who they were. And then since then, they've done We Are Not Your Kind, where the two dudes have been named. Mm-hmm. So in 10 years, they've only done 2 records.
Yeah, well, I mean, they haven't. It was a big thing for him to come back to Download. And do you know where? Like, because I go to Download all the time.
Yeah, man.
I hadn't even it hadn't even registered that he hadn't been there for a while. Because I like bands that I just expect to see there and think that I see pretty much every time. Iron Maiden, Metallica, Slipknot, Saxon. There's certain bands that I always just assume I've seen that year.
Are there any bands where because you go to Download so often? Are there any bands that are there so often that you will like look at the lineup and just think, oh, like, I don't need to see that again?
Well, let me get some Download lineups up, and we can.
Let's do it. Let's talk
this at length. Load past lineups. I don't know why I'm looking in Bing. I'm just going to have to re-Google this in a minute.
Bing. Fucking Bing.
Fucking Bing. It's just what comes up fucking first, and it does my treeing.
Is your router set to 2008? Is that why you're using Bing?
I guess so.
History Download Festival.
Download Festival. Is that on? Yeah, so that's on their site. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. So
what are we looking at?
So first year was 2 days, and that was the first year I went. Funnily enough,
is that the one Iron Maiden and Audio Slave? Yeah.
Yeah.
2003.
Zwan, remember them?
Yeah, man, that was Billy Corgan's outfit, wasn't it? Okay, so now you can tell we're talking about a long time back because Lester and Jake are not only main stage, but they're like third build.
Yeah.
On the main stage. This is time ago.
Yeah, so bands that crop up a lot. I mean, I'll always see Iron Maiden. Mrs. isn't too fussed for them, but I will always see Iron Maiden. Just because I enjoy him as a show. Bruce Dickinson has still got fucking tons of kick left in him.
Fuck yeah, that dude. Another one who laughs in the face of cancer.
Yeah. Flint. Do you remember Flint?
Yeah, that was Keith Flint's punk outfit, wasn't it?
Yeah. And
I
I
only ever
think
heard like
Jim.
2 songs.
I have a feeling Jim from Pitch Shifter, who was also in
Yeah,
Prodigy, I
well,
think he was the guitarist for him.
he recorded all the, like any guitar parts you hear on the records, that was Jim from Pitch Shifter, but live was Gizbutt from Jonas Stark.
Yeah.
And he is from where I grew up, well, just down the road. He's from Peterborough, and I've seen Jonas Stark in rooms no bigger than my kitchen, and they put on a great show. He's a fucking hell of a player. They did a song, if you don't know them, you remember the film Varsity Blues?
Yes, I love it.
They did a song on that soundtrack. Every little thing counts. Every little thing counts.
Do you know that is
That
one of
was
my
Jonas Stark.
classic like Sunday afternoon films. When I can't think of anything else to put on, I very often put Varsity Blues on because I fucking love it.
Dude, I've just had this week off work and I watched 3 of my classic all-time favourite movies in 2 days. I watched Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
I'm playing Ghostbusters the game at the moment. I fucking
I've
love
never
it.
played it, man. It's
I just
I've heard
downloaded
it's
it because it
really
was
good.
on offer for like a tenner or something like that, and I was like, you know what? I've not played it, and it's remastered for PS4, so and I'm really enjoying it. I wasn't to start with because there was too many set piece battles at the start, and it was doing my head in, and then it started opening up and it started building an actual story because I thought, oh, this is going to be like one of those PS3 games where you can tell it's a PS3 game because it
Right,
doesn't have
yeah.
enough content. There's just a load of fights in it, but it wasn't and it isn't. And I'm getting, I think, to the end of it because I don't think it's that long a game, but it's good. It's good.
I've never played it, but I remember when it came out, and it's based on what was the most likely script for the, if there was a third movie.
Yeah, well, it's got all the voice actors in as well. It's got
Yeah, they're
everybody's
all in
doing
it.
their own voices.
In
Even Janine Melnitz.
Dan Aykroyd considered it. I don't know if he does anymore, but I remember reading a ways back that he considered it to be canon, like it was the third Ghostbusters adventure.
Well, it's written as such. It has like there's all over the place. There's like little like there's the Vigo painting.
Yeah, man.
That's in the fire station where they live.
No way, they've got it.
Yeah, and you can go and talk to it. It's got
What,
like a
Vigo
little
will talk to you?
yeah, like you know how in the film like everything's static apart from his face starts moving when he talks.
Yeah, man.
It's like that.
Well, that's weird because at the end of Ghostbusters 2, Vigo's not in the painting anymore.
Yeah, they zap him.
Yeah, and it's just the 4 of them holding the baby.
Yeah, because he goes into the baby and then he goes back into the painting and then they zap the painting, don't they?
Yeah, and his head like in proper like early 90s, late 80s special effects. Yeah, it doesn't get further away, it just gets smaller.
Yes,
and then
like
and then
it
explodes.
lemon.
Yeah, and then it explodes.
Yeah.
And then it changes and it's the Ghostbusters holding baby Oscar.
Oscar, who was played by 2 babies, and I think
one of them's dead.
Really?
Yeah, topped himself in 2017 at the age of 28.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, sad stuff, man. I found that out just the other day. Yeah, the other film I watched, one of my all-time favorites, I watched Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, I love that film. Yeah, man.
In it, fucking class. You hit the kid, I hit you. Fucking incredible film. So yeah, download. Linkin Park and Metallica, Sum 41, Korn, Slipknot, Slayer. Slayer must have been there a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I've seen them a few times. Yeah, they weren't. I think they were probably only as regular as maybe Iron Maiden and Metallica. To be fair, they don't play. It was like they don't play every year, and they never really headline very often either.
No. Well, what is strange is that Slipknot and Slayer were both. Sorry, man, I moved away from the mic then. Slipknot and Slayer were on the same stage, following each other, like Slayer followed by Slipknot on the second day of 2004, with 2 bands left after them. And in 2005, final day, same stage, Slipknot, Slayer followed by Slipknot, but this time they'd moved 1 band up the bill, like it was just System that followed them. Which seems odd. I would have thought the organisers would mix it up a touch. But then again, I guess Sunday was the heavy day that year.
See, this is another thing that I always kind of struggle with. So everyone always bitches about the headliners. It's a standard thing of any festival probably, but especially Download I've noticed, where they'll cry and moan about the headliners being
Mm.
headliners that they've had before. And I'm like, I get it. You want to see a different band. Who would you have in? And it's
Yeah,
difficult.
of
It's a
course it is.
difficult one because who's big enough to fill a
Well, to
fucking
me,
field?
I would assume that you like if you're organising that festival, your headliners are going to have to be bands that are consistently huge.
Yeah,
You've got Iron Maiden, AC/DC, um, uh, Slipknot. I guess these days, they're going to be headline every time. Kiss.
yeah,
Let's looking further down a little. Metallica, obviously. Sabbath. Fair enough. Other than that, you've got to have your bands that are big in that moment, i.e., just put a record out that exploded, or just put a record out after a long enough gap that their return is anticipated.
yeah.
Tool.
I mean, even the flash in the pan ones, the ones that have a record that's massive at that time, they very rarely get to have a headline spot.
No, not if it's their first time, I don't think.
Because
Like
I
if it's
mean, they'll probably get either second or third down the bill because the
yeah,
headline spot itself is usually a really consistent, dependable band. Like,
it's got to be.
it might not be like, and what year are we in there? So 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't be asked to work it out, and I can't be asked to click on the picture. But Prodigy headlining, they're kind of
Do you
like to
know,
me,
I was just going to say that.
they're a Leeds festival
2008.
headliner to me.
Yeah, so Prodigy headlined on day one in 2008.
Yeah,
But on day two no, not 2008, I'm further down the list. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
12.
11, 12. They headlined the main stage on the first day.
Yeah,
3 years earlier, so in 2009, they headlined the second day, but on the second
the second
stage.
stage. Yeah,
But then
uh,
again, Motley Crue were on the second stage also, which
yeah.
seems odd to me. You would have thought Motley Crue would have been headlining the main stage.
I guess when you've got Faith No More, Slipknot, and Def Leppard headlining,
Yeah,
it's. I mean, it's 6 and 2 threes. Any one of those bands at some point could have headlined at either one of those stages.
it's tough though. Who you watching on Friday, the 12th of June of 2009? You're watching Faith No More or Motley Crue?
Yeah,
That's a tough call.
well,
Or
I
Miss
guess it's
Sugar. Miss Sugar were on the Tuborg
it-
stage.
it's just 100% down to what your preference is. It's not like if you go to that concert that day, there's nobody really that's going to be left with. I don't know what I fancy. Everyone's going to have a fairly strong opinion, I think. Like people who are hard into Faith No More will probably not be hard into Motley Crue, and
Yeah, I was just
similarly
going
not
to
Miss
say
Sugar.
Miss Sugar. Yeah, if you're a big Miss Sugar man, Motley Crue and Faith No More are probably not going to do it for you.
Yeah, so maybe that is a good kind of spread there. But like
That's a
the
great lineup, actually. Looking over that
yeah,
year,
man.
I would have had a fucking hell of time at that show.
The one where Prodigy's on the main stage is a weird
Let me
lineup
get
there
back
as
to
well because Chasing Status.
Chasing Status.
That's a weird.
There we go. That was
That's
2012, wasn't it?
a weird choice for a
Yeah,
download.
main stage, like head support.
Yeah.
When
See,
Machine Head are there. Machine Head are immediately before
I'm
Chasing
not
Status.
100%, but I have a feeling that if I think that might have been the year Machine Head opted to go on the main stage rather than have a better place on a smaller stage.
That makes sense because their third build on the first night,
Yeah.
whereas they
I
would have
think they were good.
headlined the second stage.
I
I mean,
think that's what was supposed to Slash.
you've got Slash with Mars Kennedy headline. Oh no, he'd take precedence over Machine Head, you'd think anyway.
Possibly. Maybe he was only second on there, but either way, I think I think the story was that he wanted to play the main stage, not the second stage, wherever he was playing on it. But yeah, like Prodigy is not really a. I mean, they'll have got a big crowd and a lot of people enjoying them there, but they're not really a download band. They're more of a Leeds festival kind of
Yeah,
band. Like you could get away with it a lot easier at an old Leeds festival, like even 2000, 2002 kind of time, Leeds Festival Prodigy would have fit in there really well.
Yeah, I
Chase the
see what you're
Status,
saying.
maybe not, maybe they would have in, like coming up to maybe 2005, 2006 before it's
It
when
does
it was
seem
getting
an odd
indie.
choice, though, looking at what's going on, the other acts going on around it. It
Yeah.
does seem very oddly placed. Just going back to Machine Head for a second. Machine Head put out The Blackening, which is arguably their biggest record. Like, it was very hotly anticipated, unbelievably well received. In 2007, Rob Flynn had the metal world in his hand. Like, that's the year he won the Golden God award at the Metal Hammer Stroke Revolver Awards, which is a big thing, in the industry.
Mhm.
That's the year that Roadrunner, shall we say, really came back. And bearing in mind, that was the record that they put out after they got dropped. Oh no, sorry, Through the Ashes of Empires they got dropped, and then they got dropped after Supercharger. Then they came back with Through the Ashes of Empires, which kind of propelled them a bit and showed everyone they were still there. But The Blackening was such a change from what in style and all sorts. Like, he had the world in his hand at that point, and they were main staged that year. But they're still lower build than I would have expected. They were third build on the second day. Fourth build, Linkin Park headlined. They were always going to headline the
Yeah.
2000s for Linkin Park. You know what I mean? If they were at a festival, they were going on last.
Yeah, man.
Marilyn Manson, Slayer, Machine Head. I am surprised that Machine Head are below. I mean, I know Slayer obviously are an institution, and Marilyn Manson's a big draw. But I am surprised because, like, they're on a par here with, like, on the first day, Dragon Force held that spot. And given what was going on for them in that year, I would have expected them to be higher.
Yeah. No,
So
you're probably
that's,
right. But I mean, smarter people than us make these lineups, I
again,
guess.
dude, certainly more experienced. This is interesting. The following year, 2008, The Offspring headlined on the second day. 2008, I
Yeah.
would think that seems an odd choice. I mean, looking at what's going on that
It,
day, maybe not. But they weren't exactly at their peak at that point in the rock community. They
I
were
wonder whether
already
that
as
was like a funny year for like rock and metal or something that year, because there's these new metal bands and
pardon me.
like pop punk bands, but that wasn't really new metal pop punk era. That had kind of already fizzled a bit. Like
Yeah,
Incubus
yeah.
weren't a kind of a big band anymore,
That's what
but
I
they
was
were.
thinking.
I guess they were still. I mean, they're probably big in rock, but a couple of years ago they would have been just a big band.
The Offspring, I would say, after Americana began their, and I don't want to sound nasty, I dig them. I'm a big fan, more of the early stuff. But after Americana, because that went huge.
Conspiracy of One was massive as
Yeah,
well, like
Conspiracy
because
One was pretty big, to be fair. That had
it had wouldn't wanna be
yeah, I can't remember. Vultures, I
got a
think that's
slow
called.
song and it goes like
That's
this.
the one, man. Yeah, that I think that's called Vultures. That
But
was
it
a
had
big
the
single.
original Prankster on, that was massive.
Yeah, and I think is Want You Bad on that one as well.
Yeah,
So that was a pretty big record. But what year would that have been? That's got to be years before.
2004?
Yeah, it's
No,
got to
is
be
it even
years
that
before 2008.
hang on, let's Google.
I'm pretty sure I saw them on tour for Conspiracy of One,
Yeah, I did.
and it was long before I went to university. That was 2002 when I went to uni. So I would think like 2000.
2000. Yeah,
Fair. So 2008 to have them headline.
yeah.
If their descent had begun by then, I mean, they by this point, I guess they were touring what Splinter. It maybe even the one after Splinter, whatever that was called.
Oh, something beginning with an R, can't remember.
How are they headlining at this point? But I guess you've got to. It's like you say, you've got to look at what's going on around them. Incubus weren't huge then.
Bullet, they've always been like I've never really digged Bullet. I think we spoke about this last time,
Yeah, I'm not a huge
or on
fan.
a previous one. I don't really dig them, but they are one of those bands that they play on Radio 1 regularly because they're a British metal band.
Yeah.
And on like Danny P. Carter and stuff like that.
I mean, I personally, day one, fuck Disturbed, but they are huge.
Yeah, man.
They are huge. You know what I mean? You can't argue with their
though.
place. Fuck Disturbed, but you can't argue with their place
Kid
on the
Rock
main
pulled
stage.
out as well.
No one's ever said that before.
No, but it happened.
You know he's never done that ever. You know he's in there
he
till
got
the finish.
too high and had to go home.
That doesn't surprise me at all. He seems like one of them dudes that every time I see him, I just want him to take a shower. Yeah. Like he looks at. That's what I mean about like Trailer Park Dude. He ain't pulling out of fucking. I was gutted though, man.
I've never seen Kid Rock, and
I reckon that'd be a decent show.
He's got good songs. Whether he's like a good performer or not, his backing band, he'll fucking they'll knock the tunes out.
What's the song called where he sampled Sad But True? I really like what he did with that. I hate to say it as a like Metallica fanboy. I hate to say it, but I think he did his take on that. I actually
is it really American Badass?
Yeah, it might be. It might be what it's called.
An American Badass. Is that the name of the song?
It could well be. I really like what he did with that. But I mean, so like I say, fuck Disturbed, but they do deserve a place on the main stage. They're huge. They've sold fuck knows how many records. They're going to draw a big crowd. They're definitely a main stage band.
Yeah, for sure.
They're followed by Motorhead, and then you got Priest and Kiss. So, like, personally, I would have tried to book Priest for day 2 and put them on the headline spot. But I guess that wouldn't work because Motorhead, Priest, Kiss, it's like classic rock night.
Yeah.
So you've kind of got to put them on together. And you know Gene Simmons is not turning up at a festival if he's not headlining.
Fuck no.
So...
Yeah, I mean... I don't know whether it's maybe because it was still light out and stuff, but Judas Priest, I love the songs. I would have watched them headlining, but they didn't feel like a headlining band. Whereas Kiss, when I was watching them, it just seemed like it had that kind of like...
It's a spectacle, isn't it?
Magic. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the show alone. Can you imagine watching Kiss outdoor at 2 PM? It wouldn't feel right.
Nah. You gotta be at least dusk heading towards evening.
Yeah, man, it's got to be dark so you can really take in all that pyro.
Yeah, for sure.
And then on the Sunday, Lost Prophets headline that year, so that tells you about what was tells you about what was happening in the world then. It was before
happening in Wales.
It's before we knew. It was before we knew.
Get back in your cage, you little shit.
What are some interesting
ones?
That's
what he was saying to children, incidentally.
Oh, without a doubt. I bet he had a child in a cage backstage.
Yeah.
That night. Some interesting ones that jump out as I look over other years. Rammstein headlining, definitely a good call, I would say, for a headliner, just purely for the show.
I've seen them headlining twice, I think.
Yeah, they headlined. I noticed them a couple of times. I might have already flicked down the list.
So what are we on? 2000. So that was 2018. So only 16 they headlined. 2016
13.
And 2013. Yeah.
13 is the one I'm looking at. Yeah, and that was a fairly standard year. Slipknot, Maiden, Rammstein. Who else was on there? 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, I've seen them a couple of times, I think.
They were what I would call their second build. I'd call that like, I guess it's not in a festival. It doesn't really ring true, but I'd call that like head support.
They've headlined the smaller stage before as well, and it was
a good show, and I would think that I actually don't mind them. You know, to tell the truth, I think they're not bad at all as a band. Like just to listen to.
For an actor to do so well in music, I find is rare as fuck.
Very rare, but he's got a hell of a voice.
Yeah, man.
And he's got a hell of a lot of range musically. I'm going to be that douche that talks about how, well, they were better. The first 2 albums were the best. But in their case, it's true. Their first 2 albums are far better.
Sure.
Yeah. And no matter, it's about separating the art from the artist, isn't it? And I mean, no matter what you think of him and how pretentious a dickhead Jared Leto might be, his band are good.
Yeah.
They can play. And I've never seen them live, but I'm willing to bet that they are capable of doing what you hear on record. They can do a very, very good representation of that live, I think. Bullet for My Valentine again on the first day. They were second billed. Who's that second billed before Maiden on the? Oh, Queens of the Stone Age, man.
Yeah, Quatsa.
Korn. I'm surprised Korn were billed below Bullet
That's
for
a
My
band.
Valentine.
Do you know Queens of the Stone Age? They might be one of those bands where I'm like a bit when I see
They're
them on a bill.
yeah.
I don't dislike them on record. I quite like listening to them, but when fucking Josh Homme goes off on one of his fucking coke-fueled solos, I'm like, fuck me, this has been going on forever, and he hasn't noticed because he's so fucking high.
You know what? That makes a lot of sense. Have you ever listened to the Desert Sessions?
Possibly at some point.
Basically, him, some dudes from Mondo Generator, some dudes from Caius. Obviously, he's ex of Caius, and some other dudes. They're basically just like literally it's called the Desert Sessions because I just had this fucking shack that they turned into a studio out in the desert, and they lived there for like
played some solos,
fucked up, and just fucking recorded everything for months, and then some sad, silly, sorry cunt had to edit it down to a record.
Poor bastard.
But I'll tell you now, man, when you listen to it, you get high listening to it. Like, you know, they were fucked up when they wrote that record. And there was no, I say wrote, that's the wrong word. They didn't write fuck all. It's like an hour of improvisation. But you know, when you listen to it, that even that improv is edited down because there must have been days of fucking tape to go through.
Yeah,
and
I bet there was days of a solo going on. I bet there was one day where they were just smashing it out for a day, and they were like, "Josh, just go to fucking town on it, just keep fucking playing, man."
Oh,
and he
without
played
a doubt
for an entire day and a half, and I was like, "I don't know if there's anything good in there. Can you find it if there was?"
Exactly, and then some sorry cunt. I hope he got paid well because he had to go. He had miles of tape to get through. And then he had to turn that into a record. In fact, you know, I've got a feeling that it's actually called the Desert Sessions Part 1, but I've never heard Part 2. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is a Part 2 and I'm just not familiar with it. But
maybe it's just not come out yet because the guy's still editing it.
That could be the case. I think the Desert Sessions Part 1 must be pushing 20 years old by. In fact, do you know what?
There's a
It'll
guy
be older
just
than
fucking
that.
covered in tape in a room, just fucking frying himself doing this shit.
He shot himself years ago, but no one's thought to check in on him. They just assume he's still working.
Poor guy.
Well, Songs for the Deaf came out in what, like 2001, 2002, 2001, I'm going to guess. And I'm pretty sure, I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the Desert Sessions was before that.
Right.
So it's not like a recent, it's not even like last decade release, but and again, I could be wrong. I've got it on a hard copy somewhere. I'm sure I've got it. I remember getting really excited when I bought it, but
and then getting really upset at yourself because
then getting really high when I listened to it.
Yeah.
What
you weren't taking anything. You were
I wasn't smoking
you were getting a
anything.
contact buzz off of fucking Josh Homme.
I was fully getting contact buzz. No, and again, I could be wrong, but because I haven't listened to it in years, like proper fucking time, but I'm pretty sure that it's called the Desert Sessions Part 1, and I've never heard of a Part 2. But yeah, going back to what you're saying, man, I can appreciate that they would be a band who I'd be in two minds. It's like, yeah, I'll go and see them if there's no one else on.
Yeah,
like at the same time they were on Jimmy Eat World, we're on the second stage, and I'm going to see Jimmy, man, all day. But yeah, on the main stage, what am I on about? On the first day on the main stage, Korn were on before Bullet for My Valentine and then Slipknot. Yeah. And that surprises me. I would have thought Korn would have been a bigger, like a better choice and a bigger draw and the bigger band than Bullet for My Valentine. I can't think, what were Bullet for My Valentine doing in 2013 that Korn weren't?
What albums did they have out?
If it's not Ready, Aim, Scream or Scream, Aim, Fire or whatever the fuck that Bullet record's called, I wouldn't know it anyway. But I don't know what Korn were doing then. But Korn at this point were a 20+ year band, so they're going to be they're going to be that draw, that 20
So
odd year.
Korn in October released The Paradigm Shift, which the Path of Totality they released in 2011. That was the dubstep one,
Which was
and
terrible.
I actually really like it, but it's not very Korn. But then when they play it live, it is very Korn, so it's weird.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
It still has all the dubstep, but somehow it fits into a set really well. And I can't remember what songs does this one have on it.
Bullet for My Valentine, I wouldn't know if you told me. It's
Uh,
like I say, I'm not a big fan. It's not a band I've really ever paid any attention to, so I couldn't comment either way. I've never liked Matt Tuck's voice.
No, that's been, and lyrically as well, it sounds like a whiny teenager.
Yeah, I think he's never escaped that kind of, like, he had that success in his early years, so he seems to like try and replicate that by writing like he's still 17.
He can obviously play, but it's not like Matt Heafy where he's got a beast voice as well.
Yeah, man. Well, that's what I was going to say. Musically, I think Bullet are actually really good as a band. I think they're very, very tight,
Proficient.
Very proficient. Yeah, that's a good word for it. But like the vocal on top to me never seems to work.
No,
I couldn't comment on lyrics. I haven't listened to enough of his pardon me, of his lyrics to comment, but I'm not fond of his voice.
2013 they released an album called Temper Temper.
Well, I mean,
and that just sounds like a whiny teenager.
It does a bit, doesn't it? It's a bit teenage angsty.
Yeah. I think I might have heard one or two songs off it, but yeah. I don't know. They've never really given me enough to be interested in.
Who else jumps out at you over the next few years?
Best bands. I mean, I'm always happy when Guns N' Roses. I know you're not a massive Guns N' Roses fan.
It's not that I'm a big fan. I would love to see them live. It's not that I'm not a big fan. It's just I don't.
Axl Rose is a bit of a knob jockey.
I don't get wet about them. You know what I mean?
I really like them. I always get happy when I see that they're headlining. Biffy Clyro is not, I guess, not a surprise for a headliner at Download, but
not
then
in that year. What's that? 2017. That's. I mean, they were huge. From like 14 to 19.
They're a huge rock band, but they're not a classic rock band. They're not a heavy metal band.
Well, who were they?
They're more of an indie kind of band. A Day to Remember were
right before them.
And AFI, you know, they're a punk band. Pierce the Veil, metal band.
To be fair, they were up against on the second stage. They were going up against. Is that on
Rob Zombie?
Yeah, on the Zippo stage, they were against Rob Zombie. Oh yeah, Rob Zombie. I was going to say Devin Townsend, but he was before, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Because I imagine he has a fucking huge draw.
Yeah, man. Rob Zombie. I think I can't remember who I even went to see that year. I think we went to see Rob Zombie, me and Catherine, and then
I know. Well, yeah, I know you're a fan.
But yeah, like
I'm gonna say it again. I prefer early Biffy. I'm such a douche. I'm such a fucking cliche.
I don't have a preference with them because they release so like it's different now. Yeah, and I find this with a lot of bands because I think some people kind of I mean, I'm like it with some bands, I guess, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. But like some people, they'll get into a band, and that moment when they get into that band, that is the band that they want them to remain till the end of time. But I was never.
I don't think I'm like that.
Well, I was never that strongly invested in Biffy Clyro.
No, I agree. I agree.
See them when they first started out, like in little clubs, and
I did the same, man. I saw Biffy at the Roadmender in Northampton in like fucking 98, 99, and they were awesome. They were really good. They played that song, I want to call it 67 or 57 or something like that. Down,
like 52 and 57.
It was a single but it was a single like 2.5, 3 years later.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if they were even signed when I saw
Clouds, that album.
Well, it'd be the first one, I guess, whatever that was called.
Black and Sky, sorry.
Black and Sky, that's it. You know the record with, on the front, it's got the people like playing with big like ribbony flag things.
That's
One's
Only
red, one's blue.
Revolutions.
That's the one. That was the last record that I really paid attention to by them.
That's got like mountains and stuff on it, isn't it?
Yeah, and that one, is it Bubbles?
Yeah.
Is that one of theirs? Yeah. Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
27 and 57, that's the ones.
It's
Yeah.
57, I think, is the one I'm thinking. It's that one. Down, 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 down,
The one that starts off with that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah, good tune.
Live fucking kick the dick off you as well.
Yeah.
That was that when that kicks in, man. But do you know, did I ever tell you when I saw Snow Patrol before their big record? I don't know if it's their first record, but it had that light up as if you had a Chasing Cars, that's it. Whatever that record was called, that track was on.
I've no idea. I just know that song by them, I think. I probably know some other stuff if someone played it to me.
I'm pretty sure, it was in Scarborough that I saw them. I'd put a tenner on it that I saw them in Casbah. This is back like when it was the Casbah.
There was them and like Pigeon Detectives. There's all kinds of bands used to play in Casbah.
Yeah, I don't remember I remember seeing a poster for the Pigeon Detectives, but I don't remember if I was there. But yeah, when I saw Snow Patrol, man, they were heavy as fuck as well. When they played that tune, Chasing Cars, it was faster, it was heavier, it was awesome. And then it came out as a single, and it was, what the fuck is this? They just slowed it down. It just make it commercial, get it radio airplay. And to be fair play to them, they made fucking millions out of it. So who am I to argue? But they were really good when I first saw them play. And Amplifier I saw down there as well. And they're still fucking good to this day. I've never seen so many pedals on a stage. Between the guitarist and the bassist, they must have had 250 laid out in front of them. And they made an effort to use every one of them as well. It was quite the spectacle to watch if you knew what you were looking at, There's nothing else jumps out on me, to be honest, on these lineups. They're all fairly what you'd expect.
Yeah, nothing kind of crazy.
So back to the question then. Queens of the Stone Age was the one you said. Like, are they the only one out of looking through all this that if you were there that week, you'd be like, if there's nothing else on, I'll go and see them?
I mean, there's other bands here and there that I'm not really fucked for. Like, I mean, if Asking Alexandria or Disturbed are ever on a bill, I'll avoid them.
Are you not an AA fan?
I am not.
I say I am, to be honest. Apparently, their last record that just came out this year is quite different to what I've done before. But it's I haven't heard it. I just heard a review on another.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably going to be a different way of me not listening to their album.
Yeah, it's from it. The review didn't make me want to listen to it, but they were talking about how it's, if you're into old school Asking Alexandria, you probably wouldn't be into it because they've taken this route of like more American radio style.
All right, so they've probably alienated all of their old fans and kept alienating me. So.
Exactly. So. Yeah, if you weren't into them in the first place, I can't see any reason that you'd want to be. But they named a few other bands and said, like, if you are into these guys, you'll definitely dig what they've done on this new record. But I cannot remember who they talked about.
Is it like Breaking Benjamin and that kind of stuff?
I'm fucked if I know. I honestly can't remember. I had it on, right? I was in the wagon. In fact, I've had this week off. It was my last day at work. So, like, just over a week back. And it was the last job on the Friday. And I'd been in the truck. I'd been out to near Grassington, where we played before. I'd been out that way, so I was out in the sticks anyway. And manoeuvring that truck around some of them little country lanes is just a cunt's job. And then I had to get from there over to Halifax, and the only way to do it inside of like 2 hours is to go over the mountains where. Like, I mean, you'd struggle to get a push bike down some of these fucking winding lanes, and I'm trying to do it in a truck. So I struggled for just over an hour to get the truck there. And then right as I was about to arrive, I phoned the guy on site. I was going all that way in an empty truck just to pick up a ladder, bearing in mind. So I was pissed off already. I was like, why the fuck are they sending me to do this? This is bullshit. I phoned the dude when I was fucking 2 minutes away from the site. Phone the dude. Hey, mate, it's Dave. Is that ladder ready? Because I'll be there in 2 minutes, and I don't much want to be stopping and hanging around. He was like, oh, that ladder's not here. I was like, what the fuck do you mean it's not here? I've just spent an hour driving over the mountains to fucking come and pick it up. And he says, well, it went back to our yard. I was like, right, fuck's sake, where's the yard? I'll go and get it from there. Well, it's in Bury at Manchester. Oh, fuck this. I just hung up on him. I was like, oh, fuck this. I hung up on him, phoned the office. That ladder's not getting picked up. It's in fucking Manchester. Someone else can deal with it next week. I just fucking came home. I'd had enough. But it was that trip over the mountains that I was listening to that review.
Yeah.
And I think it was on the Metal Hammer podcast. And while they were talking about it, they were kind of really chirpy. But it was at that moment I also realized that they're a lot younger than me.
Right.
And that alone made me think that's why I haven't listened to Asking Alexandria, because these guys are talking about how, you remember when you were 13 and their first record came out? And I'm like, when I was 13, I was listening to Soundgarden. I don't give a fuck about this band.
No, innit? Yeah, man. I don't know. They're a band that people used to talk about when I was going out in York a lot, and I never got into them. There's a lot of bands that seem to get big like popular in York that don't seem to do well anywhere else in the country.
Are they British? Asking Alexandria.
I believe so.
I don't know. I couldn't give a fuck. It's clearly not for me. I haven't heard anything by them that I remember.
Not me either.
So I can honestly say that there is no reason for me to suddenly look into it now.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, man.
I'll tell you something I have heard this week.
Yeah, man. We should probably get round to the main focus of this show.
Yeah, because, well, we've only been recording for like an hour and a half. So we're doing all right.
I reckon, to be fair, given our usual runtime, that gives us a good half hour to talk about this now.
Yeah, they can probably cut a good half hour of flat Earth bollocks off the start of this podcast.
That's true. That's what I'm gonna call this episode.
Thanks,
I'm gonna ask Wayne to call it a good half hour of flat Earth bollocks.
Nailed it.
That's it. Do you know what the last one was called? Do you remember? It just came out today, and I thought, has he done it?
No, I haven't seen it today yet.
So, like, I'll just pick a random line that one of us has said that I thought was funny and ask Wayne to call that episode that line. And the first one was Die Full of Spiders. And then the second one was Jazz Mag on a Mattress, yeah. And then the third one, you remember when I couldn't read a clock? And it was like 49 to 22. That's what that episode should have been called. But Wayne, he did call it 49 to 22 or whatever the numbers were. But in the others, he just named it like that. It didn't say Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventure and then that. It just said that title. The last one, he called it Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventure 22 to 49. So it makes it sound like a big compilation.
A 17-hour video.
So I said to him, do you mind checking it over and in future not adding, because like if you're on that podcast anyway, you know what the show's yeah. You know what I mean? So do you mind? So he's like, yeah, what do you want to call the next one? And it suddenly popped in my head that I had said to you, I don't remember what the conversation was, but you said something and I was like, that's it. That's what we're calling the episode. So the one that just came out today is called Shite and Latin. He hasn't even like put, you know, like if you were putting a profanity and you'd use like an exclamation mark and a star. So like he hasn't even done that. It's literally just called Shite and Latin.
Awesome.
That made me happy.
Good times.
So today, this is going to be a good half hour of flat Earth bollocks. That's what I'm going to call this one.
Nailed it.
So, Phil, tell everyone what we listened to this week.
This week, we have been listening to the EP Species by Crossfaith, which only came out on Friday, so we've not had a lot of time to listen to it, but it's only 17 minutes long, and I listened to it about 10 times.
Sorry, Phil, I'm just going to say goodbye to my wife. She just came and sat down for a sec. Do you want to say hello, baby?
No.
No, and shut the door. She just came and sat down next to me and had a cig, and then took a banana and left.
Oh, aye.
Yeah, she's watching Dynasty. So, yeah, sorry, carry on. It was... I wouldn't be able to tell you what it's about.
Is it a new Dynasty or old Dynasty?
It's the new one. It's basically just posh Americans in big hats, and
I remember
there's a token gay dude, and I don't know what's happening.
I remember the old Dynasty.
Yeah, was it Joan Collins was in it, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what Joan Collins is not in. She is not in Bury Your Dead.
She ain't, as she did not record the album Beauty and the Breakdown. Oh no.
Yeah, and as I remember, bonus points for cover your tracks.
Yeah. Did you give that a jam?
I did, because of it, as you just said, Crossfaith, that EP is called Species, you said, yeah?
Yes.
I didn't pay attention enough. So that came out at time of recording, we mentioned earlier, we're recording this on Sunday night, which is the, 24th of May?
Yeah.
It dropped on the 22nd. Well, on the 22nd, I was busy all day. Yesterday, I was busy through the beginning part of the day, and then last night I put it on once. It's only 17 minutes, so I got through it once. And then today, when I was training, I listened to it again. But I felt like I was rushed, and I didn't pay attention to like the names of the tracks like I normally would. I'd look into, oh, that one stands out and stuff. So I can talk about it, but I can only pinpoint 2 tracks, that one that really stood out and one where the intro was fucking brilliant, but then I didn't like what happened after the intro, but the intro properly grabbed me.
All right, fire away.
So, Crossfaith, there's a tune on it called, I think it's called That's None of Your Business.
None of your... Yeah.
So the intro to that track... That's it, man. The intro to that track is phenomenal. Like, it properly grabbed me as soon as it started. I was, fuck yes, this is awesome. And then it just did nothing for a while, but then the chorus kicks in and it was awesome again. Yeah. And I found that was the problem I had with that EP on the whole. Like, there were standout moments, but every song was so erratic that I couldn't stay grabbed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of almost like it's built for people with short attention spans.
Oh, very much. But at the same time, it's almost like in any one song, there was no attention span. It's like they were just doing what they wanted. Yeah. I just found that Crossfaith thing. None of Your Business was, that's the one where it really grabbed me straight off the bat. And I found it dipped out.
It not dips for the verses, because it's kind of like, it does it on a few of the songs. Like, it starts doing that kind of like, low kind of hip hoppy type stuff.
Yeah, you see that, I think that's where it lost me, because I've got nothing against hip hop, and I like old school, like late 80s, like gangster rap.
Do you remember Il Nino?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
They do that kind of thing where there's like, it'll be heavy and then it'll drop down and have like that kind of, the way that Latin people do metal all the time.
Yeah, completely. I really dig their drummer. Dave something his name is, but they
have a percussionist as well as a drummer, don't they?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you that.
When I've seen them on videos and stuff, they always have a guy playing bongos and shit.
Well, I first became familiar with them maybe 2002, 2003. Yeah. But in 2005, you know, the Roadrunner All Stars record, the drummer from Il Nino, this Dave dude, he did a lot of the Matt Heafy stuff. Yeah. So on the documentary that followed it, there's a lot of video. There's a lot of him playing, getting to watch him play, and I liked his physical style as he was playing and stuff. And yeah, I really got into that. But that dynamic shift thing, where it's a change in dynamics is great. A change in style is great, and incorporating different styles, but I feel like they can be taken too far, and it's just my opinion. But Crossfaith is an example of where they took it to the point where it lost me, because it went so far. Yeah, it lost me. I can understand why people would like that, and I think it makes them very original, but it didn't do it for me.
But I can, like, it's the same as you. I can see why people wouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, so the other song that really like instantly grabbed me on there was Endorphin. It's the second track. I mean, the first one was really good. I can't remember what the first one's called.
Digital Parasite.
Yeah, that one was good. That grabbed me, and I think it was a great choice of a first track because it really lets you know what you're in for.
Yeah.
But the second one, Endorphin, was, if I'm honest, the only one on it that I could listen to right through without wanting to skip it.
Yeah. Do you
You
know
know what I mean?
that's so they're on UNFD, which is like North Lane and stuff's on UNFD, Australian label.
Oh, okay. Didn't you say these dudes? You said they were Japanese?
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that stood out to me is that they did not sound it at all. Like as
You didn't think so?
no, as Japanese metal goes, like I've heard a whole bunch of other Japanese bands and they didn't sound like them, but it may
But they
just
don't
be that
sound
they were
like baby
such
metal.
no, they don't. But they
No,
didn't sound like anyone really. They're very individual.
yeah, I think they do have a Japanese sound to 'em, not just because they like obviously when they start singing in Japanese, but like when there's moments in songs where I'm like, that sounds like it comes out of fucking Final Fantasy 12 or something like that. Like it,
Yeah,
yeah,
I guess I see
there's
what
a
you're
lot of
saying.
there's a lot of Japanese bands that have like a video game kind of sound to them.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they do just for moments every now and again. I'm like, oh, it's just reminding me where this comes from.
There's
I dig it. I don't know.
I think if there was a Japanese influence that became obvious to me at all, it was in the the less metal sections, the more hip hop,
Yeah,
the more electronic sections.
yeah,
That's when I would say
probably.
if it stands out at all, it was in those sections. But in the when they go heavy, they don't sound like Japanese metal.
No, they sound. That's it. They can do like blast beats and sound as American as everyone else tries to sound.
Yeah, without wanting to sound like there's some kind of exclusivity on metal.
Where a sound has to come from.
Yeah, I mean that's not what I'm saying at all, and obviously that would be a falsehood. That wouldn't be true in any sense. But it also can't be denied that the influences of like British metal sounds different to American metal in a lot of
Yeah,
cases. Maybe not so much these days, but
I think even nowadays, if somebody plays me two bands next to each other and says, right, one of these bands comes from Britain, one of these bands comes from America, tell me which one. It's
yeah,
usually fairly obvious.
yeah, I guess that's true. Thinking about it, I think you're right. But I think with these guys, if you hadn't have told me they were from Japan, I'm not sure I would have picked it out. I would have
No, you wouldn't
probably
have
said
necessarily assumed it. You're
American.
probably right. You're probably right.
And I think that was in many ways. I think that that I'm not saying it's like it's a good thing, but to a degree, I wish you hadn't told me they were Japanese because I feel like I was listening out for it. I
All
expected
right.
to hear it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and maybe that's why I couldn't pick it out because I was expecting it to be like overtly like a Japanese metal sound to it.
In honesty, I liked it. The only song
I
I
I
didn't
did like
really,
it.
yeah, I think the only song that I wasn't as keen on was that one called Your Song, the last song on it.
Yeah,
The
I
rest of it,
found
I thought was pretty great, but just that one, it was a bit softer than the rest of it. It wasn't what I was looking for.
for some reason I had a feeling it was going to be. I guess that title just like gives you Elton John
Elton John,
vibes.
yeah,
But that I don't know. It's not that I didn't like it. I don't want to come across like I'm dogging it in any way. But I think because it's not a band that I'm particularly familiar with, I think it was very different to what I was expecting after spending a week listening to Bury Your Dead,
yeah,
and it was so different. I maybe didn't find it so accessible. Now that I know what to expect from them, I think if I went back and listened to some of their other work and I knew what to expect, I could come back to this and probably appreciate it a lot more.
yeah.
But on first listen, bearing in mind it came out 2 days ago, so I've kind of forced myself to listen to it right through start to finish
Mhm.
twice. Today being, I think, the third time I listened to it through. Oh, pardon me. I've just opened another Nelson and it's repeating on me already. But yeah, it's not that I disliked it, but I think I went into it wrong. Do you know, there's part of me thinks I probably should have listened to some of their old stuff during the week to kind
Yeah,
of like, you don't go for a run if you haven't stretched out.
I
I feel
suppose.
like I went into this a little bit unprepared.
Yeah,
Um,
I think as well. There's definite parallels between Bury Your Dead, and then they're
Oh
not
yeah,
a
when
similar band, but like the
no, but
heavier
when
parts.
that's it. When Crossfaith dropped to a riff and a beat down, it's very much along the same lines of like I struggle to call it hardcore, but there's a definite hardcore feel, not even a sound necessarily, but like there's a hardcore feel to it.
Yeah, like the riffs and the grooves, they only last like a bar or two. They're not, they don't like it's not like an 8-bar repeating groove. It's just a like a 1 or 2 bar repeat.
Do you know what I thought was an odd piece of work on it was that track. In fact, thinking about it, because there's so few tracks on it, it's the only one we haven't named. It's the Truth of Insanity.
Mm.
When I first listened to that, I had no fucking idea what was going on, and when it was like, is it still the same track? And maybe that's why the intro to None of Your Business stood out so much, because of the track before it being, because they're all erratic and they're all frenetic, but that one especially seemed like it was a trip, you know. And I think maybe that's why I liked Endorphin so much, because I think of all of them, it's probably the most straightforward.
Right, yeah, I guess. No,
Again, I feel like I was unprepared for it, if I'm honest. I probably should have done my research on this.
I mean, considering that last week we were listening to Red Chord and we both really enjoy Red Chord, and that's
Oh yeah.
by no means straightforward, simple music. You know,
No, but I mean, I wasn't, not to the level you were, but I was familiar with them. I knew I
yeah,
was going
you
to get
can
like prog
exactly.
metal,
That's
you know.
it. So yeah, probably if you'd have had kind of a bit of maybe a forewarning almost.
I think as well, like I say, because I've been off work this week, I do most of my listening, especially for these purposes where I'm trying to get through full records. It's easy for me to do at work when I'm driving.
Yeah.
Whereas this week I've been doing it while, like, I've done no end of work in the garden and stuff. I've rebuilt the drive. I've built a gate to go out front, and I've done bits of it with the headphones in. And if it's not that, I've just had to like put the phone down in the background when I'm training. So I've maybe not been concentrating on it as much as I normally would. This week's been a bit of an odd one for me, if I'm honest. And I was that unfamiliar with Crossfaith. I think it just took me by surprise. I had no idea what to expect, but I didn't realize I had no idea what to expect until I listened to it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think after listening to Bury Your Dead, I wasn't expecting this to be so frenetic and kind of genre skipping to a degree.
Yeah, it definitely bridges a lot of stuff.
Now, that, like I say, though, I don't want anyone thinking that I didn't like it. I did like it, and I will. If anything, it's made me want to listen to more of their stuff once I know where I'm approaching it from.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good, man, and I will be interested to listen to earlier releases they've done and see if they've settled into this groove of being that frenetic and eclectic in what they do. But I'll feel like it's going to be interesting listening to their stuff from now on. Whereas the last 2 days, it was confusing listening to it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's where I stand on that EP. What about you, coming at them from an angle of previous experience? I mean, is this a band that you go a ways back with? Like, have you seen them live?
I haven't seen them live, and they're not especially like a band that I listen to a lot. But when like if they come on random on my iPod,
you're happy about it?
Yeah, exactly. They're a fun band. I enjoy listening to them, but they're not one that I go out of my way to listen to often.
Well, I'll tell you what, since I am so unfamiliar with them, and we've said before, like, we should never be embarrassed to talk about bands, you know, that we're not familiar with. It's not like we're going to pretend we know everything about the genre or the bands within it. What would you advise me to look at? What of their work do you think is worth a look? Have they changed much over the years? Have they? Because according to what I'm looking at now, their first full-length release was 2009. So they've got like an 11-year history now. 5 records, and that's not including this new EP. So there's a lot of material to get through. Should I want to? What would your advice be?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's all the same. A lot of it's all kind of genre tying. So like, there's always kind of like an electronic element to everything they do. The last album, Ex Machina, is really good.
Yeah,
I'd
Ex
say just
Machina.
just get on that and work your way backwards if you feel like that way
You see, it's
inclined.
interesting. It's interesting you say work backwards, because my first thought would be to go to the first record, not because like that's the way you should do it, listen to them chronologically. You listen to stuff however you're going to digest it, but I would be interested to see if that first record is reflective at all of what I've just heard. You know what I mean?
I mean, it is in the respect that, like you say, it's always kind of electronic mixed with metal. That's
Yeah.
that's their niche. But
And they do seem to be good at it. They do seem to do it well.
Well, the first album to me sounds more, that Japanesey kind of sound that I said before, where it kind of sounds like a video game.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like it's more like that.
What now or
No, back in the day,
right?
like the synths they use and stuff like that sound like straight out of kind of
I don't think there's any
video
better
game.
way of putting it than you did earlier when you said that Final Fantasy sound.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
to me puts an idea straight in my head of what sounds I'm going to hear.
Yeah, well, that the older stuff has got that plastered all over it, and they're all their albums are kind of like, a mesh of electronic and metal. So I mean,
Their
you
song
can take your pick,
titles.
to be fair.
Their song titles are interesting, I think. How they blend words together, or even kind of make up words that fit the groove, the aesthetic, if you like. Like there's a record here called Apocalypse, which as a word just makes me smile. That's a great word.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the names of the songs on that's a long album, man. If you look at the titles on this Apocalypse, things like Hounds of the Apocalypse, Countdown to Hell, Death Wish, Burning
they all
White.
sound like
they sound like a death metal band.
Yeah, they sound like a different kind of band sometimes, but then I don't think that they necessarily approach it in the same way. Like when they're naming their songs, I don't think they're thinking about it the same way. Like here, I guess we're thinking, right, this is the kind of band I'm in. This is the kind of song I'm writing. This is the kind of title it needs. Whereas there, I think they're just kind of saying, right, this song it's either about a certain thing, so that's what I'll name it, or it's a heavy song, so we'll call it a heavy title. It doesn't necessarily have a particular genre that it's trying to slip into with the title.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but that to me is just another point of what they do that makes them really interesting. Like you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Or at least that's in my very brief experience of them. That's how it comes across. I can't pigeonhole the music. I can't pigeonhole their aesthetic when you look at the album artwork. I can't put into any one specific niche. Like, those titles, it's like Upon a Burning Body would have songs with those names. And but it's not that at all.
Yeah, but also then on the same album, there's like, you kind of trivium kind of titles. They've got like
Eclipse.
They've got fucking Not Alone. Could be a Michael Jackson song.
Man.
Fucking
very, very interesting band, man. It's like I said, if nothing else, listening to those 5 tracks over the last few days has made me want to listen to more.
It's upbeat
whether or not I like
good.
that. There's never like down time. There are down moments in songs where it's going to come back.
And it's not like the kind of they're the kind of band that it always has, it'll have people moving when there's a show.
Yeah, they'd be a really interesting band to see live, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about Bury Your Dead?
And this album I chose specifically because I knew it was one that I liked.
I fucking loved it.
Yeah, man, it's a great album.
I fucking loved it. Like from start to finish, you can't stop fucking just that slow fucking head groove.
It's groovy,
there.
man.
Oh
That's
man,
it's got it
innit?
backs on it.
Oh, for days. And my
Right from the
standouts.
start as well. It's like first track on the album is just like
It's
from
funny.
start to finish. It's just awesome.
It's funny you say that because my standout tracks for this were the first four in that order. Like the first four tracks: House of Straw, A Glass Slipper, The Poison Apple, and 12th Stroke of Midnight. They are just like there is.
Oh man,
you're grooved out after them four. There's no more groove in you, but somehow you find it for the rest of the record.
Yeah, like you say, I mean, every song opens with like just sick groove, sick groove, sick groove. It's amazing.
Yeah, if there was any down moment on it, not down, but any moment where I thought it was a touch weaker, like where I lost the groove at all, which I didn't. But like if I was ever in danger of losing the groove, Let Down Your Hair was the one that I thought. It's not a moment of weakness, but when everything before it's been so strong, it stood out as being
it's groovy. It's not got as much to it as the other songs. I don't think.
Yeah, completely. I mean, that I had in my head, I found myself there were comparisons to, I guess, Hatebreed to a degree. I tell you what. You know how, I'm a big Madball fan.
Mm-hmm.
This was probably the album that made me groove the most since I listened to Infiltrate the System.
Yeah, man, I get that.
Like this, and it's a very similar production sound as well. To say this was this was their first big release, was it? No, second.
2006.
Oh, second. Yeah, first. Yeah. Oh no, it wasn't. No, it's third. They did Cover Your Tracks as first, and then Alive. Yeah.
They had so they had like the first record, and then they did Cover Your Tracks had 2 songs off that first record, and then they had Alive, which is a live record.
Yeah. So this is technically their second full-length original record.
Yeah.
Because the production alone, I'll tell you what, let's talk about Cover Your Tracks as well. Because you said there were like extra credit.
Yeah.
So I paid a lot of attention to that as well. And if anything stands out as different between these two, I mean, I think the songs were better on Beauty and the Breakdown.
Yeah.
Like it grabs you straight away, and there's like I said, apart from maybe Let Down Your Hair, there was very little let up.
I hate the phrase, but it sounds like a more mature album. It sounds like
yeah, they knew what they were doing at this point.
Better structured songs by a band that knows who they are, and
they're not pretending to be anything else. They're not being pretentious. There's nothing about it that's like, it's aggressive, but it's aggressive in the right ways. They know how to focus it into the song. Cover Your Tracks. The one thing that stood out. Well, there were 2 things that stood out. As I say, the songs weren't as strong, I didn't think, but the production on Cover Your Tracks. Oh yeah, without a doubt. But the production on Cover Your Tracks, I honestly can't decide if I preferred it or not. Like, it's so different. It's so raw and underproduced, and clearly like on a budget or done as like single takes almost, But I can't decide if I preferred it.
It's like the drummer didn't seem like he was playing to a click.
Okay, yeah, 100%. And what even in like, did you notice that the kick sound on Cover Your Tracks sounds like what? Do you know what I thought of actually? I'm just gonna say, I didn't want to say it because no one's ever heard of it. It's only you and me that know. But the first band we were in together, Seraphim, the drums on Cover Your Tracks sounds like the way Blair made the drums sound on that Seraphim thing that he did. Like, what's inexperienced production?
Possibly.
but
Like it's like
not in a bad way. Like
it's
I
kind of a
really
thick
liked it.
sound. I don't know
Yeah,
if that gets across what I mean.
there's no decay on it for a start, but the attack itself is very dull. Like
Yeah,
it's full of power. It's not lacking in volume. It's just like a dull thud. It's
yeah,
whereas on Beauty and the Breakdown, it's got that click in it still, and it's that full fucking metal kit.
yeah.
But I honestly couldn't tell you which I prefer. Like it's not about what's better. What does that mean? But you can have an opinion on which one you prefer, and I honestly can't fucking decide which drum sound I prefer, and they're so fucking different.
Um, I don't know. I think I prefer. I think I'd prefer everything about Beauty and the Breakdown.
As a record, it's a better piece of work.
Yeah,
Like
and
the
I think
songs are better.
that probably flavors what my opinion of the drum sound is. But I don't know.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I'm being very specific talking about a
I
kick
think if they
sound, you know
should,
what I
yeah,
mean?
I
But it
think
did stand out to me.
if they moved the production across from one album to the other, would it sound as good?
Yeah, okay. If you're looking at it in that respect,
Because
Beauty and
it
the
wouldn't
Breakdown is
like,
definitely the stronger album. Because if it was
yeah,
underproduced the way Cover Your Tracks is, it would still have the better songs.
yeah.
Um,
Like
but
from start to finish as well. Like the last song on it is a banger. The first song on it is a banger, and every song
yeah,
in between, there's not filler.
yeah, like I say, Beauty and the Breakdown, it had that one moment that still a strong track, but it's surrounded by absolute fucking jawbreakers. So
Yeah,
it's
not skipping anything on it.
fuck no. No, I didn't skip anything on that record once all week when I listened to it. Every time I put it on, it was played through until for some reason I had to stop. And then when I next put it on, I would just pick up from that moment. I wouldn't even go back to the beginning of the track. I'd just pick it up from exactly where I left off. And it never seemed to lose its appeal, even in those, because sometimes, you know, I don't know if you're the same, but certainly I will. If I get home and I'm halfway through a track, the next day when I start that up again, I'll at the very least I'll skip back to the beginning of that track.
Yeah,
So I'm getting that song in its full context. With this, I didn't need to. The minute you press play, you just fucking your head's going.
yeah,
And I thought it was fucking great. I really enjoyed it. And I actually went a little bit further with these. Whereas with Crossfaith, I wish I'd listened to more. I actually also
you wish
listened
you'd
to
listen to less.
I actually listened to You Had Me at Hello as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No, not You Had Me at Hello.
So that's the
Nothing
first
personal.
record.
Yeah, no, it was
Um,
Nothing Personal. I went for the one.
so it's nothing personal. Is that the first one with the new singer? Or the is now the old singer because the old singer's back now, who was originally the second singer. It's very confusing.
Oh, that is confusing.
So like
So,
they had an original singer, he left before the second album, then that guy was with them for 2 or 3 albums. Then this album, Nothing Personal, I think is when the newer singer. I think that's the newer singer.
so they'd be two different singers, Beauty and a Breakdown, and It's Nothing Personal.
I think so. Let me just check because I might be
Because
making a dickhead of myself.
you know what I did was I wanted to listen to the next one after it, but somehow skipped a record because they did the self-titled "Bury Your Dead" record 2 years
Yeah.
after Beauty and the Breakdown. Somehow I skipped that and went to It's Nothing Personal.
Right. So band members timeline. Vocals. Where are we? What color is lead vocals? Red. So Mike Nunes, that was 2004, 2003, 2004. Matt Brusso. Yeah, so Matt Brusso is the guy who's on
Beauty and the Breakdown.
Beauty and the Breakdown, and then 2007 he lost. Yeah, so 2009 that would have been Nothing Personal. That's Mike Terry. He's the big black dude, and then Matt Brusso came back in 2011.
So he would be on
He's on
Mosh
Mosh
and
and
Roll.
Roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to that one actually, but this is a band that I'd like to listen to it all, but I don't feel like with Crossfaith, I feel like I kind of have to. It's like it's research. I'm going to go back because I'm really interested. I just want to see. Even it's not that I don't enjoy it, but the enjoyment is secondary to my need to understand the band. I need to go back and listen to it just so I have a better grasp of who they are and what they do.
To be fair, I think I've liked more or less everything Crossfaith have done to a degree where I could happily listen to it. And Bury Your Dead, I mean, you had me at Hello. It's not as well produced, so it's well.
That's the first one, right?
Yeah, I say not as well produced, but it's still really listenable. It's all really
I didn't listen
listenable.
to that either. The reason I dropped that in thinking that was the one is because as you look at it on Spotify, for some reason the albums aren't in order. So I know I skipped one after Beauty and the Breakdown, which is the self-titled, and then on
Yeah,
Spotify it lists You Had Me at Hello as after that. But I noticed it's 2001.
yeah,
And I know the one I listened to was like a modern production. So it had to have been It's Nothing Personal.
yeah. No, they're all really listenable. It's more lo-fi production, but it's still really good. They're all really good. There's nothing there that I
This
couldn't
is
listen to 100 times.
this is what I'm saying, man. With Crossfaith, I feel like I've got to understand what that band is about. So I need to listen to more. And it's going to be like research. It's going to be like I'm some kind of metal scholar and I'm looking at this odd artifact of Japanese metal.
Yeah,
Whereas with Bury Your Dead, they
it's
will be a
already in your
band
comfort zone.
100%. It's going to be a band that I'll revisit a lot. And it'll be fun listening to different records.
Yeah, man.
You know, they've earned a fan in me
Well,
this week.
I'm glad I put that on you then.
Yeah, man. 100. To be fair, man, you should be chuffed with Crossfaith as well, because if nothing else, I find them so they're fascinating as a band. Can you imagine writing that stuff and trying to put
I
that together?
can't.
That's
You know,
fucking
that's the thing.
insane.
I can't like get my head around. Like, if it's not where I'm at that moment in time, I can't for the life of me figure out how people do anything that like any kind of music that's like even stuff that's not particularly like crazy. It just does the same thing all the time.
Well,
Like,
like Bury Your Dead.
yeah,
It's you could listen to Bury Your Dead and get super into it, and then go 2 weeks without listening to it, pick up a guitar and think, I'm going to write a Bury Your Dead riff and not quite get it right because you
yeah,
haven't been listening to it. But at the same time, you're going to have far better chances of doing that than going 2 weeks without listening to Crossfaith and trying to write like that, because
yeah.
you could go 5 minutes without listening to Crossfaith and still not be able to write what they're doing.
Yeah, like that's it. It's the questions that you'd have to ask yourself is why you're doing things because they know why they're doing things.
Yeah,
They do 'em because
they
that's how they
must
write.
they understand what their aesthetic is, and they understand how to cross genres, and they understand why they're crossing genres and where the right time to do it is. Whereas to you and me, that would just be, well, I've got 3 hip hop beats written and I've got 3 riffs written. Let's randomly throw them into a
That's it.
mixer.
I'm into like a song in a cohesive manner that made sense and kind of worked. It still probably wouldn't really work.
No, it would, because I think it would sound random. Whereas
Yeah.
when they do it, as eclectic as it is, it's not random. You can tell it's
No.
very intentional.
Yeah, well, they've
So,
probably got like a formula that they kind of, I mean, probably subconsciously, but they'll probably follow that formula, you know, the same way like we were saying the other week about
oh, like the
Green
verse,
Day, how
chorus,
it's like,
first,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like it's probably very similar what they do in their heads. It's just, you know, their thing is, and they've got it to a place where it sits comfortably and works well.
It's really interesting music. Even I think if you're not into hip hop and you're not into metal, it would still. But like if you're in any way a musician
Oh,
or like a musicologist, I just think that would be very interesting to look at and study.
the you know when you've got a band in your head all of a sudden that
Hmm.
I want to tell you about it, but I can't remember the name of
Is
this.
it another Japanese band?
No, she's not Japanese. It's weird. It's like kind of metal. I want to say
Okay.
oh, that's it. Poppy. Have you ever heard her?
No, man. That literally never.
So this is something that I'm
Let
willing
me
to bet
search this.
you may not enjoy it, but it's something different.
She looks like if Taylor Swift made a black metal record.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
follow it.
can't without listening to it. I can't describe it to you.
Right, I'm gonna have a listen to this. We'll talk about this next week, just as like an aside. But
And
I'm gonna take a listen
from
to it.
one song to another song as well, and within the same song, you don't know really what kind of band you're listening to.
I like the sound of that.
It's very confusing. I can't
And
decide if I like it or not.
is it one like she's poppy, I guess,
She's
because
the
she's the artwork for
yeah.
everything.
I couldn't tell you much more about the band, honestly, whether it's like a band or whether it's her like producing a lot of electronic music and
Some of the names on here are very cool. Play Destroy, Blood Money, I Disagree, and then you've got girls in bikinis. Am I a girl?
yeah, it's yeah. I can't honestly. I don't know how to explain it to you. You'll have to have a listen and tell me what you
I'll
think.
do that, man. Yeah, as just if nothing else, just as an aside for next week.
Yeah, man. What have
But
you been listening to that isn't Crossfaith and Bury
because,
Dead this week?
because I haven't been at work, not much. If I'm honest, like I say, most of my music consumption is done while I'm driving. I haven't really done much driving. I've been working at home all
Yeah,
week. Not like working from home because of COVID. I've had a week off and I've been slogging it out, getting the garden sorted for summer. I've cut down fucking no end of trees. That massive, you wouldn't believe. You remember that dog kennel I had in the corner?
yeah, man.
I demolished that. It was built like a fucking tank.
It looked like it was.
I'm not kidding, man. I thought I'll take a lump hammer to it and smash the granny off it. That did nothing. Like the hammer bounced off it. So I had to literally like where there were screws, unscrew it. But you wouldn't believe it, man. There were 8 4-inch bolts holding it together.
It wasn't made to be coming down anytime.
Was it? Fuck. It took me a day nearly to take it apart. But I sorted all that. But like I say, because I haven't been driving, I haven't been listening to as much. The one time I put music on that wasn't Bury Your Dead or Crossfaith, I put on a Rod Stewart record.
All right. Which
Yeah,
one?
and
A new one or an old one?
no, it was one of the American Songbook
Oh, my mum loves
records.
that shit.
I can't stand it.
Why?
This is the thing, right? You know, the first cut is the deepest.
Yeah.
Right, so that I was watching a YouTube video and that was on in the background and it had earwormed me and I was like, just bite the bullet and listen to it or you'll be humming it for the next week for no reason. So I found which American Songbook it was on. I think it was an American Songbook record, but I found what record it was on anyway and I just put that song on, but then I let it play afterwards. And I wasn't really paying attention to what was happening. It was just on in the background. But that is, I think, the only time I've put any music on that wasn't Bury Your Dead or Crossfaith. So it's been a very kind of dry week musically for me. What about you? What's been fucking floating your melodic boat?
Well, I got sick of listening to stuff I was listening to, but not because I was sick of the sound. So I've been listening to like Static X for quite a while, on and off.
Yeah, man.
And I just wanted something that was like new Static X, but not Static X. So I thought, well, I'll start listening to Dope then, because obviously they sound similar enough.
Yeah, you know, the Dope Drummer was in, I don't remember where I saw it. It'd be on some metal site I was looking at this week. The Dope Drummer said, confirmed that the Static X tour is going to continue after the COVID thing or something like that. I can't remember. I just saw a headline.
They're a good party band, man. That was the first. So when I started drinking last September, and I came back to Britain after that, because that was in Chicago. The first band that I saw back in England was Static X headlining in Dope.
Yeah, and Dope supporting, weren't they? Yeah.
And I was pretty fucked up, but man, that was a good time.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be a band that you'd party to, you know?
Yeah, man.
Or
My neck
those
was
would be
sore from
bands.
headbanging so much. It was such a good time.
I
was
love
just
that.
having a crazy
I
good
love
time.
that post-gig neck ache, man.
Yeah.
It's been a long
I
time
might
for
be a
me.
cripple, but I'm having a great time.
Yeah, man, when you get giga mortis. I feel like it's been a long time for me. Like I don't get out and see bands very often anymore. But it kind of makes it more special when I do. I don't remember the last time I went to a really good metal show. Like, don't get me wrong, we went to see Leopard, and that was one of the best like arena shows I've ever been at. It was a full spectacle, and it was just like from the moment you walked in, Cheap Trick are playing, so you're smiling, and then fucking Leopard come on, and you're singing along with every word of every song, and you leave and you're smiling, and it was such a good show. But I don't remember the last time I was in one of those dingy little fucking sweat pits in some shithole basement club listening to fucking, Fit for an Autopsy in front of 500 people. I don't remember the last time I was at a show like that.
No.
And there were so many due this month as well, man. After the Burial, Fit for an Autopsy, Misery Index. No, not Misery Index. Fuck. Oh shit! Who was it? It was they were on tour with Fit for an Autopsy. Carnifex were playing, and they were all coming to Leeds as well. There were loads of them. There were like 5 bands coming to Leeds, and I across 2, maybe 3 shows, and they were like 20, 25 quid a ticket. So you could easily have done all 3 shows in that month.
Leeds does seem to get a decent pull for metal bands as well, like underground metal bands.
Oh yeah, because they all go to the Key Club, and the Key
Yeah.
Club is like the size of my toilet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Honestly, my garage is bigger than the Key Club, I think.
Yeah, and you do well if you don't lose your shoe to the floor.
Yeah, man, it's a proper sticky vomit covered shithole. But you want to see a band like fuck. I talked about them a lot. Who did I tell you I was listening to loads last week? They just kept coming up. It wasn't
that Australian band, was it? Fucking my brain's gone to shit now. We've been talking for fucking 2 hours.
You know the bands I told you that at first I was like I wasn't right into it. It was Misery Index,
Yeah, I
Carnifex,
know,
and the other one, and I
yeah.
can't fucking remember who it was. I want to say Out the Gates, but I know it wasn't.
Oh no, and it does have an A in it, doesn't it?
Fuck.
Not After the Burial.
No, I was going to say After the Burial as well. They were playing too, as it goes. When I put on Fit for an Autopsy radio, they're always listed in there. I'm gonna look through Fit for an Autopsy radio, and they'll be there. Thy Art Is Murder.
Thy Art Is Murder. That's the ones.
They were playing as well, and they were fucking. I would kill to see that now in a dingy little shithole basement. I'd love it. It's been so long, and the tickets were so fucking cheap too. Man, that would have been good. But yeah, I haven't listened to an awful lot. Fucking Rod Stewart.
Why not? Did you know what? I like Rod Stewart. I'm not massively bothered about the American Songbook songs, but I like the Faces stuff. And
oh yeah, back like before he was Rod Stewart, the superstar. I've got nothing against his music. I've got nothing against his voice or him as a person or anything like that. It just doesn't do anything for me.
I'm not particularly fussed for stuff like, around the Do You Think I'm Sexy era.
Yeah, that 80s, because the Bee Gees made disco cool again in the late 70s and the early 80s. And Earth, Wind and Fire was still doing it.
Cool.
They made it popular again.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rod Stewart gave it a crack.
Have flares ever been cool?
No, I tell you what, they were always cooler than bell bottoms, though. What kind of a gimp wears fucking bell bottoms? That was
sailor
weird.
in the 60s.
I can't trust a sailor, man. Can't
the
trust anyone
Navy.
wearing in the Navy. You can sail the 7 seas. I'll tell you what, man. Village people songs are really good fun to
They're
sing.
so catchy, man.
Yeah, they're such
Dangerously
good fun to
catchy.
sing. Yeah, dangerous because if you do it in public, you will get the shit kicked out of you. So I think we did a thing.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Like
the thing we did.
a 2.5 hour thing this week.
Yeah, I don't know if
pushing
Wayne
that.
wants to chop some off.
Well, I'm
like
going to send him that
nachos.
edit note where I went for a piss. But to be honest, the only thing worth cutting would be the half hour of flat Earth bollocks.
Yeah, but then how could we call it half hour flat Earth?
Well, that'll just make it fucking crazy, wouldn't it? We'll do it anyway. I'll just tell him to leave it in. I don't give a fuck how long these things run, to be honest. I listen to some podcasts that are like 4 hours long.
That's it. He's the only one that's ever commented on how long these things are. And you know what? If somebody listens to, or if the more people that listen to our podcast start to finish, that's more hours. So it's more time.
Yeah, man.
Makes the whole thing better, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
So
and what else have you got to do? You're stuck in your house.
Exactly. No one's doing fuck all at the moment. So next week, before I do the sign off stuff, next week I'm in two minds, and I kind of want you to make the final decision. I'm in two minds, right? These are both going back a little bit. I want to do something because we always say we're rock and metal. I want to do something less metal.
All right. I'm down with that.
So I was thinking Live Through This versus either Nobody's Daughter or America's Sweetheart, which is Hole, Live Through This, and Nobody's Daughter. And America's Sweetheart was Courtney Love's last solo record, which was pretty highly reviewed. Actually, it was pretty well received. So I either want to compare them, or I was thinking Super Unknown compared with King Animal, because Chris Cornell's anniversary is probably the wrong word. It's 3 years this week just gone since he passed away. And that made me think maybe King Animal would be a good one to look at, which was Soundgarden's last record when they reformed. Now, none of them are new. Like Live Through This and Super Unknown are both like 93, 94, something like that. Nobody's Daughter, I think, is 2011, 2012. I think America's Sweetheart is about 2015.
Right.
And King Animal, I think, well, if he died in 17, King Animal will probably be 16, 15 or 16. So none of them are like this year's releases.
I'm happy either way. I will happily listen to any of those albums.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I honestly can't decide. So maybe I'll sleep on it and I'll just kind of let you know over the next day or two.
Yeah.
But I think I'd like to go down the rock route. I think because we've done a lot of metal in these last 3 or 4 weeks.
We have.
So I'd like to look at something a little less heavy, just a bit of a sidestep into rock rather than all metal all the time. So it's going to be either Hole or Soundgarden, I think. But I'll decide in the next day or two, and I'll let you know, and then we'll reconvene, I guess, next Saturday or Sunday, and we'll do this again just for fucking shits and gigs,
Cool, man.
Shits and gigs. So you've been listening to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventure, where we attempt to talk all things rock and metal and a load of flat Earth bullshit.
Too fucking right.
Too fucking right. You fucking know. And if you like what you're hearing, as we hope you do, we hope you have fun with us, maybe you should find us on Facebook at Phil and Dave EA, or you can just search Heavy in all caps. Like it, follow it, subscribe it, talk to us, join the conversation, private messages, show us dick pics, ask us questions, do all that stuff. At the top of that page, you will find a post pinned to the top with all our links for contact and that includes such fun as Twitter. We are &_excellent. You can find us on YouTube at Biteback Media. Just search Biteback Media on YouTube and you'll find us on there. There isn't an awful lot going on that at the moment because we can't get to the studio to record. But we have plans for that. We also have plans after today for a new, I don't know if it'd be a new podcast or just a challenge we do like among our other games on YouTube, but keep those eyes peeled. That should be fun. If you would like to show some support in a monetary sense, which I don't want to ask you to do, but it would help greatly. Patreon, Biteback Media. Find us on there. You can email us at philanddaveea@gmail.com. And if you're already listening to this, I guess you've already found us on one podcast platform or another, but we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Mixcloud, I think we're on Bandcamp, we're on the Google one, Phil's on Meth, just all that good stuff, really. But whatever you do, leave us a comment, get in touch, because it'd be lovely to be able to read some stuff out. In fact, we did have one this week. Graham Klassen, who is an old friend, got in touch on Facebook and said that he thinks he's conquered the coronavirus gig situation where we can distance.
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah, basically, he said if you turn up to a gig with one or two other people that you're allowed to be around and stay in your pod, everyone has to bring their own ale and a pint glass. That way you can drink out of the pint pot and you've brought a toilet, so you never have to move from that spot.
Ingenious.
Which I thought it might be the way forward, because as I said earlier, the crime scene looking gigs that they're putting on in America are not inviting. Bollocks. So yeah, that's us. That's all our contact. Leave us a like, subscribe, follow, leave a review. You won't believe how much it all helps. It really is. It's in our interest. It won't do fuck all for you, but we'd appreciate it. And if you want to send us a dick pic or tell us how crap we are, we'll still read it out and publish a dick pic on Facebook. So, And to be honest, I'm going to start just going through random people's profiles that I've never met, taking their names. I'm gonna find dick pics online and assign them to random people on Facebook, and then publish them on our page saying that person sent it to us.
Seems like a good idea.
You know what I mean? What can go wrong? But then again, it is 1 a.m, and I've got an amount of Stella in me, so
I
might not be talking sense. But fuck it. It's Memorial Day. Well, I think.
Thank God. It is Memorial Day.
What is it that they're remembering on Memorial Day? What are they memorializing? Is that a word?
Let me Google it.
What
is Memorial Day? Is Memorial Day.
That might be a new title for instead of a half hour of Flat Earth Bollocks, it might just be What is Memorial Day? But then it sounds educational. They might play us in a school.
Observed on the last Monday in May that is meant to honour and remember those who died in the military while serving their country.
Oh, okay. So it's like our Remembrance Sunday.
It is just like that on a different day.
Oh, well. To all our fallen brothers, I salute you. And to their families, have yourselves a good Memorial Day. Remember the good times. Remember the good times. Listen to metal. Listen to this podcast again next week. And
you'll still be listening to it next week from this week, probably.
Oh shit, that's a good point.
It's like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, listen to that and all the others, and just stop going to work or eating. I don't know what I'm doing anymore, Phil.
I figured that a while ago.
I feel like I held it together.
Where he's going with this, but
I feel like I held it together for 2.5 hours, and now my body just realised, dude,
you're not slurring. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but it's not my first rodeo. I'm used to this.
Well, enjoy the.
But it's so good when it touches your lips.
just the tip, just for a second, just to see how it feels.
I'm being Frank the Tank. Right, fuck this. This will literally go on all night if we don't call it a day right now, Phil. I expect you to pull out and leave me disappointed in T-minus 3, 2, 1. Keep it ever, everyone. Laters.
Peace out, Ginger.